Jarvis, drop my needle.
Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and if you are interested in listening to idiots, you came to the right place. Have a nice day.
Woo! That's an attention getter.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot.
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
You know, of course, that you're out of your jurisdiction.
Personally, I think you're an idiot.
But that's the evidence in the car.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Always like to keep my audience riveted.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to Free Range Idiocy, the podcast about everything, but mostly just the stuff we like. The dust has settled on WrestleMania 42, but that doesn't mean that all is well and at peace in the wrestling universe. With a 2-day card of only 13 matches, there were a whole lot of folks who got pushed to the back burner of the WWE stove. Then there was the annual post-Mania releases that took a bunch of people off the back burner and dumped them directly into the grease trap. So what's to be made of all the snubs and shenanigans? Luckily for you, we're here with our idiotic mixture of savant-ish knowledge and swashbuckling ignorance to break it all down for you and offer up our surefire ideas of how to make it all right in this episode 244, What If? WWE Edition. I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is the man who has never been future endeavored by a company because he always has his blackmail stash in fine order. He has been my partner in Idiocy for over 2 decades and has a bigger pile of dirt than the average gardening center. I give you the man they call Tim.
Greetings and salutations, my friend. You better know I've got photos with that championship belt of many people. So, like, please don't show.
I touched that thing? Do you, like, wipe it down with some Clorox wipes or something?
Of course. It is always, deloused.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. For a moment, you hesitated. That thing has got syphilis and herpes simplex 83.
Stop it.
There's stuff living on that belt they haven't even discovered.
Look, it's right there, shiny and fine working order, as it always has
shiny
been.
and fine working order.
The other one. There it is. Come on now. Come on.
And the other one, the Winged Eagle belt, is merely the other one.
What I said,
it's like describing your kids, like, look here, this shiny thing, and then
I'm sorry, excuse me for a moment.
There's this
the World's Heavyweight Championship, and over here we have the Winged Eagle WWE Championship. Is that acceptable to you?
Put a little respect on those,
Commandant.
My goodness.
Good Lord
Almighty!
Almighty!
You she's-em me.
I think I just did.
Beg your pardon, sir.
Oh.
I shan't be besmirched this early in the show.
We're 1 minute in, and we've already got feathers are ruffled, and there's friction abounding. Friction abounding, ladies.
There is. Well, again, I might have caught something from one of those belts. I should be on a penicillin regime right now.
Let me know when you're done.
Good Lord, something might fall off of me in the next few days.
Oh God. Are you good now?
Danger.
Do you have it out of your system?
Put me in danger, sir. How dare you? How dare you?
Are you done? How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm pretty much done.
On this fine free range Idiocy Friday.
You know, as far as the world goes, I'm doing all right.
Said with about as much confidence as
the bunker that I'm digging under my garage currently is okay. Very nice.
All right.
It ought to keep me alive for a good day and a half, I think. So,
How are the felines doing? Has Marco had any more adventures? Is he
No, he keeps trying to get out. He wants
you,
to go
you
out.
You need a cat airlock for your house. An exit that you and your wife can take where Marco cannot escape because he will get caught within the airlock.
I had to spend $3,000 to take a tree down. Okay. I'm good with building an airlock. Yes.
This week?
Yes.
Why'd you have to take the tree down?
Because it was going to fall down. So it's either take it down now on our terms or, just wait for the wind to take it and we take out the electricity for half the neighborhood.
I asked you how you're doing and you're like, oh, I'm great. I'm fine. It's like you could have told me about the tree you had to take down. That's news.
Well, I mean, on one hand, like,
we are spicy right now.
On the other hand, like it's like I've said before about other things. Like it's not like it's not like we're rich people or anything like that, but you know what? We can cover it. It sucks, but we're not going to go without food this week. We'll deal with the problem and move on. So I'm trying to put more things in perspective like that, because otherwise your life just ends up becoming way too angry and angsty. And, I already have enough of that on my own. I'm going to therapy. I'm working on it, folks. I am. This counts as therapy. This is like actually my homework from my therapist. And she's still like, you're just absolutely jacked up. Keep doing the podcast. I don't.
He doesn't pay me. It doesn't pay me anything for this therapy session.
Well, no, because I can't afford to talk to my therapist for this long. She's like, just go talk to your friend there and do your chucklehead things. So yeah, no, that was it sucked, but at the same time, it was also really cool to watch like them take the main trunk down, because that they take off all the branches, they kind of get the tops, trimmed up and all that. And then there was literally like a 20 to 30, well, no, because they had trimmed off a couple of fairly still, but there was like a 20-ish, I would say, foot trunk that was a good 6 to 4 feet around, like tapering upwards. This is a large piece of lumber that you are going to have to fell 4 feet from the road. It's literally like a sidewalk, the road, and then on the other side of the sidewalk is the tree. So they've got this thing tied off to a pulley system that's going around another tree across the yard and then tied off to the back of a truck. So they're going to pull this thing away from the road as they're cutting it. The best thing about this is, so the guy who's from the tree company, he kind of warned me ahead of time. He's like, listen, my arborist, when he shows up, some people get a little freaked out because he's got like tats everywhere. He's got facial tats. He's got all kinds of piercings. He'll pull up on his Harley and, he'll be smoking a butt. And I'm like, you know what? Actually, that's exactly the person I want cutting my tree down. I want someone who's like, there is no plan B for my career, because I'm not going to show up to a bank like this. I want that dude. And literally, as he's cutting down this trunk, got a Marlboro sting. Like, I'm like, this is kind of kick-ass.
You've hired the right guy.
And they
got your man.
They dropped this thing. It went right where they wanted it to go. I was like, that was kind of cool. Like, I'll gladly write that check, because that was cool to watch. Not gladly, but what are you going to do? So that's how I'm doing. How are you doing? You look troubled, sir.
Yeah, I'm on my slow network right now. Is it possible to switch to my other Wi-Fi and not screw all this up?
No, it isn't.
A few moments later.
So, sir, now that we are back on equal Wi-Fi footing, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Can't complain. Good. Things are trucking along. Getting ready for our youngest to graduate college in a few weeks.
Yes.
And then we'll have 2 individuals who will once again be, productive members of society.
Excellent.
Or so we hope.
Yeah. Kaylin's coming home next weekend, and
is she done?
She's probably going to sleep for like a week and a half.
Yeah, probably. That's what they tend to do. So.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Then we'll have
all in the name of I've been working so hard.
Well, hey, then we'll have all the kids here. We'll have Kaylin, we'll have Marco, we'll have Happy. It'll just be one big family at that point.
Nice. Yes.
And if anything, the cats will be looking at her and wonder, like, she's still sleeping. It's amazing. She's our new leader.
How is that possible? Why can't I do that?
I thought only we could sleep 20 hours a day.
I did want to ask, have the cats had any kerfluffles? Has there been any trouble in paradise, so to speak?
Oh, no. No trouble. They roughhouse. Like, it is so funny because
like to play together, basically.
Yes, I have lived with cats now for the better part of my life. Now that I think about it, between Bootsy and then Madame and now Happy and Marco, like I've got a good 30 years, not including the cat that my parents kind of had for a few years when I was growing up, because I really wasn't all that involved in the cat. But I have been a cat dad for an awfully long time. I was not prepared for what it was like to have 2 boy cats and and I'm not talking male cats. I'm talking 2 boy cats, because they are definitely boys at this stage of their development, especially Happy being just under 2. Like, they roughhouse, they, and last night, actually not last night.
Like, they're not really
this morning.
hurting each other. They're
No.
just goofing. Yeah.
No, I mean I've seen, because like Bootsy, the reason I got Bootsy was a former girlfriend got Bootsy as a friend for her cat, and then her cat didn't like having this ball of energy cat that only slept like 15 minutes per day and would spend the rest 23 hours and 45 minutes torturing her. Didn't like that, so I got the cat, and then we ended up moving in together, so then the cats were reunited. Those 2 cats would fight. Like, there would be clumps of fur after they had a tussle. Marco and Happy roughhouse. Like, they wrestle around. There's no fur going anywhere. There's no claws coming out. Like, they're locked up, and they'll be like kangaroo kicking each other's head and stuff like that. But there's no claws. Like, there's no marks on either of them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just do that for a while, and then they'll sit there and stare at each other. And then they'll eventually kind of wander off. Or they'll start it up again, because then one of them will sometimes just be like, and was like taunt them, like, I'm not touching you. Yes, I am. I'm not touching you. Yes, I am. And then they start up again. They were doing this last night at like 2 a.m. I woke up to friggin' cat WrestleMania / Jamboree.
Oh boy.
And they're wrestling. I hear thump, 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 thump. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, seriously, keep it down. Like, I'm not even getting up. I'm just like, whatever. And then I hear like a cabinet open. I'm like, you know what? You're on your own. Like, I didn't even bother getting it until I hear a crash of anything. I don't get up. I'm like, whatever, settle it between yourselves. But it is so funny having 2 cats that are very much still like young and razzling around and getting into trouble and stuff. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, this is a whole different experience between this and like Madame, who is essentially an extra couch cushion. Like, you'd leave her in one place, you'd go away for 6 hours, you come back. I'm like, I don't think she moved at all. Like, and was quite content with that life. These 2, oh my God, Marco gets my wife aggravated because he is, as they say in Ted Lasso, a flaneur. He's a wanderer. He loves it. He just wanders and prowls through the house. And my wife is just like, would you just sit down? You're making me nervous. Like, he's just pacing. I'm like, he's prowling. She's like, he's pacing. He's like, making me nervous. Like, what's he up to? Oh my gosh. It's interesting. So that's life with cats.
It is.
What were we talking about this episode? Are we talking about cats? Because I can go for another 2 hours.
This is a great segue from our from wrestling with cats to wrestling in general, and the news and the events surrounding it. And as we are still, kind of coming out of our WrestleMania 42 hangover, to start this show, I wanted to kind of go through some stats.
I feel like our WrestleMania hangover is even more pronounced because we watched both nights and then we recorded for 2 nights afterwards. So this was a 4-day event for us, really.
And the thing is, the length of our episode was longer than the total match time bell to bell of WrestleMania 42, which we will get into in a moment.
It's called value, baby. It's called value.
I think we doubled the time or something to that effect, or at least time and a half. I don't know.
If you took into account the Week in Geek episode plus the Friday episode, man, the bang for your buck is outrageous for this show. Let me just tell you.
Yep.
And of course, you have to like the show in the first place. So
our paychecks will reflect that with the 0 time multiplier against whatever hours we put in.
It's a great write-off, though.
It is.
We're a non-profit, not by design or anything, but just that's the way it works out.
So, ladies and gentlemen, our good friends at USA Today were kind enough to publish these statistics coming out of WrestleMania 42.
Yes.
The total event runtime for said event was approximately 7 hours and 28 minutes. All right. Now, I don't know if that includes the pregame show or if they're just counting both nights.
No, that seems like both nights, because if the pregame show, that was like a couple hours.
Yeah, that probably would tack on too much. So we're dealing with 7.5 hours here, roughly.
Yes.
So here is the breakdown of how that time was spent.
Oh boy!
And I'm waiting. I'm really looking at Uncle Todd to see if there's a vein in his forehead that's going to start bulging out, because there's a particular number here that I'm sure is going to make him smile.
Full disclosure, I have seen this breakdown before.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look at it in our outline, but I had seen numbers for this. But honestly, it's still it might still generate a reaction. I don't know how it's going to go.
So the total match time, bell to bell. Okay, keeping in mind it was 7.5 hours across the 2 nights. 2 hours, 47 minutes, and 4 seconds, representing 37.29% of the total event runtime. That means they are just over a third of that time was actual wrestling. The entire point of the event was wrestling, a third of it. That was it. What did the other 2/3 go to? Funny you should ask, because the total ad/commercial time was 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 52 seconds, representing 19.61% of that time. So almost 20% of that time was purely ads and commercials. I have seen in articles it be referred to as WrestleMania now the greatest billboard of all time. Time will only tell if we see next year turning into much of the same, although it'll be in Saudi this time, so it'll be interesting there. Yeah, that's going to be really odd because of the time difference too when they're in Saudi, because it's going to be like basically an early afternoon. It's it's going to really muck with my arrangements.
Sorry, Abe.
You know how I feel about my arrangements.
Sorry, Sally.
Here's the one that I just cannot. Well, actually, I'll go to the next one. Post-match activities. So shenanigans and ballyhoo that happen after the matches. 43 minutes, 21 seconds, representing 9.68% of the time. All right. So we have now accounted for, let's see, 37. So about 57. So we're at about 2/3 of the time has been accounted for. So what did that last third go to? Funny you should ask, Uncle Todd. Entrances. 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 30 seconds, representing 26.23% of the time of the event. Oh, good Lord. Thank you, Oba. We appreciate a 75-yard strut as much as the next person. Good Lord. Is that not incredible? So when you break it down, so thankfully the match time is where most of the time goes, 37 or let's say 38%. Then it's the entrances, which is about 26%.
Yes.
So now you're over half the time is just match time and entrances.
Yes.
And then another chunk of that is the commercial time. And then a small part of it is all the post-match activity that happens afterwards. Probably when they go and, hey, oh, look at this celebrity or look at that celebrity or whatever. What do you think of this, sir? I mean,
surprisingly, I am not going to pick on first the thing that you might think I would pick on first. I think the worst aspect of this is the ad and commercial time.
Yeah.
That is the most egregious out of all of this. One, because they're already selling everything. They're selling everything but the wrestlers' foreheads at this point. Like the turnbuckles are for sale. The matches themselves are sponsored. The mat is for sale, and not just like one, but you got corners, and then now there's like, did you notice I thought it was like, it almost looks like a dotted line around the edge. You can buy a little tiny imprint on the apron. Like the green shirt guy had his name on that. So you can buy that. Like there is literally nothing that is not for sale within this. And yet we are still getting a ton of advertisements. Now, I'm not going to say there shouldn't be any advertisements, because the other aspect of this is it's either going to be advertisements or it's going to be pimping for WWE shop or something, or there's going to be backstage segments or something, because there is a turnover time in between matches to get things ready or things like that. Like I acknowledge the fact that is going to, you need a buffer in between some of these matches. Fine. that ad time needs to be halved. Like I also considering the ticket prices for the event itself, like the get in the door price I think it was like $800 for a 2-day pass to sit in like the nosebleeds of Allegiant Stadium. When we went to Elimination Chamber, I thought those tickets were pricey.
Mm-hmm.
When I tried to look at just a raw, not a PLE, just a Monday Night Raw in Boston, I couldn't find seats for that amount.
Mm-hmm.
For just a random ass Raw. So I mean, they're not coming back down. Mm-hmm. So I kind of look at like what we did is like we got in the door just about before it slammed and caught us in the friggin' shin. Considering how much money is being made here, and I'm not trying to say like that they should be doing it for free or whatever. It's a business. They're trying to make money. All of that. At a certain point, you need to understand you can it's that old axiom of shear a sheep many times, but you can only slaughter it once. Like you have to acknowledge that there is an aspect of this of fan experience, and that eventually you're going to turn those fans off. And this is not just WWE, folks. This is the thing. Like a lot of people like to pretend, oh, it's WWE and AEW is so much better and this and that. No, this is many companies out there right now that are all trying to pop this quarter and pop the next quarter, and they don't care about down the road. What they all seem to forget is that thing that is demonstrated over and over statistically in business. It's a lot cheaper and easier to keep customers than to lose them and then to have to go out and get new customers or to reclaim the customers that you've lost. It pays to keep your customers happy. It's better for your bottom line. It might not look like it this quarter, but if you look at it over a span of years, it's a much better strategy. Instead, they're just trying to milk everybody for what they can, and to hell with the fan experience. They'll have a downturn. They're already having a downturn because 20,000 less tickets sold, and the thing is, you could always say, well, it was a different area, it's a different this, it's a different that, it's a different travel. No. We have back-to-back years in the same stadium in the same city. That's about as one for one as you're going to get, and one sold a lot more, and the other didn't. So the commercial time is the one thing I look at that first and foremost. That's got to get cut down. You can have commercials in front of there, but like 8 to 10 minutes of commercials between matches. Come on, man. Like you're already screwing people on Netflix every single fracking week when you have all these commercials on something you're already paying a premium for, and then you're going to make them sit there and miss like a quarter of the match because, well, we got to have a commercial for General Auto Insurance or some other bullshit. That is the most egregious to me. Second most is entrances, because everybody should not get a special entrance. CM Punk, Roman Reigns, fine. Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, fine. You're in a main event, fine. You have somebody who, maybe it's a high stakes match, fine. It should not be a full-blown fracking thing for every single person who's participating. Everybody doesn't get a special entrance. That needs to get cut down. So I guess I did rant a little bit. Your thoughts, sir?
Uncle Todd, a little spicy on that topic.
Well,
spicy.
You gotta take into account the fan experience, man.
I agree. I mean, for myself, who was sitting at home watching this on, ESPN, it doesn't bother me as much. I mean, there was clearly a longer time frame. What I'm thinking about is, for the future, am I ever going to want to entertain spending the kind of money it would take to go to a WrestleMania? I don't know, because, for all the people that chose to go there, that's what they got for their money. A third of the time they were there was the actual wrestling they came to see.
Now, one thing I do want to point out here really quickly before you continue with your point.
Yes.
For folks who are a little bit upset about that, and the average NFL game contains 11 to 14 minutes of actual action. So 6 to 8% of the total television broadcast is action. Because that was the first thing I went to here when I was thinking about this. Because like a lot of football is just sitting there waiting for stuff to happen. So then you go to baseball. Baseball is actually better. I didn't really think it was going to be. Baseball is 10% of the broadcast time. So I was actually expecting baseball to be even more so than football. Now, of course, hockey and basketball, much higher percentage of action because it's more of a flow sport. So maybe that would be a great comparison. I did not look up those stats. What percentage of, actually, let's look at this. Basketball, if I can spell that right. 35% for basketball. So where's Mania? It's like 37. So you're still ahead of a friggin' NBA game. However,
I don't understand those numbers when most of the broadcast you're watching is the game.
Well, because you also have timeouts. You also have so you have active play with about 45 minutes of actual game time occurring within a roughly 2 hour and 18-minute total broadcast. This this percentage represents the time the ball is in play, while the remaining time consists of stoppages such as fouls, timeouts, and halftime.
I don't think that's precise, though. I mean,
it's going to
timeouts is part of the game. The fouls are part of the game. I mean, you need to count that time as part of the game. That's
I don't. I mean, timeouts. I mean, fouls I could go with because you're shooting foul shots. Timeouts I disagree with. That's about the same. Like if you're in the stadium, you're watching like a bunch of people huddled around the coach writing on a whiteboard that you can't see. Like that's nothing going on. That's the equivalent of like, tightening the ropes or something. So anyways, but I just wanted kind of a little perspective. That's all.
Thank you for that. So for night one featured more advertising with 52 minutes, 25 seconds of ads compared to 35 minutes, 27 seconds on night 2. That number seems low to me. I thought there was way more ads than that, but I don't know. But here is what's undeniable. The 2026 event was noted for having the lowest percentage of actual in-ring wrestling in WrestleMania history. So if they wanted to make history, they have succeeded because this event had the lowest percentage of actual in-ring wrestling, which boggles the mind. And as I started to say, for those who bought tickets, if I spent the kind of money that they were charging for those tickets, I would feel kind of ripped off. So
yes, I would have.
If you didn't already by paying, $10,000 for a 100 level sort of seat, but
not to mention like to get to Vegas.
Yeah. And I happened to watch a reel today on Instagram of someone's filmed a perspective of CM Punk's entrance for his match from where they were sitting, which was on the floor, not up front, but on the floor. And it was like, I don't know for that position on the floor, how much they paid. It had to have been over $1,000 or more. Not great. I mean, it was, probably could see the ring. Okay. It was probably roughly like what we had for viewing at the United Center. But we were elevated, but they weren't. So it was, I don't know. I was just kind of like, wow, that's pretty crappy.
I see. The thing is, like, I would be reticent, vocab word, to buy tickets for a stadium show because like where we were, like we were like 100 level, just above the section above the floor. So you have the stepped up seats and we're in the corner. So we're not within spitting distance of the ring, but you're essentially like half of a hockey rink away as opposed to half of a football field. That's a big ass, difference in yards that you're dealing with there. Like the corner of a football, like you're in the end zone corner as opposed to like the corner of like the boards at a hockey game or a corner of a court at a basketball game. That's a big difference as opposed to like being, in a football stadium. So, I mean, I don't know that I would even want to pay for that. Like there's part of me that's like, yeah, well, it'd be cool to say you went to a WrestleMania and I would, if money were no object, maybe, but still you have to admit, like, that's not going to be a great experience. you know?
Yep.
Yeah. And not to mention just the fact that like you're dealing with, and this is the thing that is kind of infuriating with some, I mean, I understand why you're doing it in some ways, because you don't want the show to run to, 2 a.m. on the East Coast, but like it kind of sucks having entrances that are in broad daylight and you can't lower the lights, like all of the, like some of, because a lot of the stuff, let's be honest, like a lot of the entrances, like Penta, like Jacob Fatu, like Stephanie Vicaire, a lot of these entrances depend on bringing the lights down and the dramatic effect of the smoke and the fire and all that. You lose all of that when it's bright ass daylight streaming in through the not opaque roof. I don't know. It's a nit to pick, but I like to pick it.
Indeed. So that is our WrestleMania 42 stats. Now, I ordered our outline with the most recent news next, but I'm wondering, should we jump down to who missed WrestleMania and then circle back to that?
Sure, let's do that.
Because it kind of renders some of the discussion moot if we talk about who's already been let go. So,
yes,
there were several articles I found, one from WrestlingWorld.com, one from Sportskeeda.com, and one from the Sportster.com that all discussed the So last episode we talked about the event itself. Well, we want to talk about this episode when we call this "What If." It's really about the superstars who missed the cut, who were not on this 13-match event, and discussing who should have been in or who could have been in, maybe if they had cut some of that ad time or some of the entrances, who knows. But this is quite a list. So let me see. It's 1, 2. I should have numbered these. Hold on a second. Let me just flip this into numbers instead of bullet points. And one moment. Let me do that. So we're talking about 20. Okay, so we have 24 superstars on this list. Think about that. There's 24 people who could have potentially participated in WrestleMania who were left off. And yet we still had 13 matches, one of them being involving 8 people for a 4-way tag match with the ladies for the tag team championship. You also had a 6-man ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. So it wasn't for not, having matches with multiple, more than just 2 people or 4 people in the match. We had several of those. But yeah, so I'll run through this list. 23 people. Apparently it switched over the articles into a number. So
that'll do it.
That will do it. So I'm going to run through this list real quick, and then we'll get talking about it. But Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Ilja Dragunov, Asuka, Io Sky, Carmelo Hayes,
Ilya.
Good God Almighty. Raquel Rodriguez, Chad Gable, Ray Phoenix. Did I say Ray right, or is it Ra?
No, it's Ray. You got that.
Oh, thank you. The New Day, the War Raiders, Naomi, Joe Hendry, Bianca Belair, Damian Priest, Tiffany Stratton, Braun Breaker, Sheamus, Chelsea Green, Jordynne Grace, Bronson Reed, Kevin. What?
It's Jordan Grace.
Jordynne Grace, Kevin Owens, and Kairi Sane.
It's Kyrie.
Call me the man they called him insane in the membrane, because this guy can't let the names go. Good God Almighty.
I'm sorry. I like to see people's names pronounced correctly.
Well, I'm doing the best I can. Thank you very much.
Okay, Tom.
Tom who?
Well, you don't care about pronouncing names, right? Maybe I'll just mispronounce your name.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. Right? Isn't that funny? Thank you, Dot. Okay.
Yeah, well. So the funny thing is, there was actually there was a day I had to go in and do a graphic design gig for a guy I was freelancing with, and he had one of his clients come in. He was a nice enough older guy, but he was old, and he really wanted to like work over my shoulder as I like designed in real time for him, which is not what I do.
Oh boy.
And so the guy I worked with, his name was James, and he was a very proper British dude. So he liked to be referred to as James. This guy referred to him as Jimmy. And you could see it just ate away at him, but he wasn't going to say anything because he's just like, I don't want to make this last any longer. And he kept on referring to me as Tom. So from then on, like the length of the time that I worked with this guy, I would call him up, be like, hey, Jimmy. He's like, hey, Tom, how you doing? So that just became our nicknames for each other. Is this dude's mispronouncing of our names? Chef's kiss. It was
nice.
lovely. Nice. It was a terrible time to work, but it was fun afterwards.
You had to make the most of it, right?
Yeah.
So Uncle Todd was kind enough to include a couple points of context for some of these names. For example, Naomi, I believe, just had her baby. Yeah. I think from I believe things that I've been kind of reading and hearing about is that Jimmy and Naomi are now Papa and Mama. And Bianca Belair went public at WrestleMania. I think it was night 1 when John Cena came out to give the attendance record. And I believe she came out to join him and announced that the attendance record needed to go up by 1 because she was with child. And so there was much celebrating there. Chelsea Green is potentially dealing with an injury. Is she still recovering from a broken arm?
No, it was an ankle.
Oh, ankle. I'm sorry, ankle.
Yeah.
Ankle.
So I don't know if she's cleared or not. She hasn't been. I don't think she's been doing anything. But again, she was injured at really the wrong time. Where I think her injury was going to go long enough that it's like getting her involved for Mania just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the same with Jordan Grace, where there was some interesting thing there because it was like Chelsea Green posted something about like ankle sisters because she injured her ankle and she ended up using Chelsea Green's wheelchair because it was at one point it was like an Instagram post like luckily there was a wheelchair there and there's like Jordan Grace sitting in the wheelchair and Chelsea Green's over her shoulder which God bless Chelsea Green, man. Like that is someone who like if they don't manage to catapult her to the heights of the women's division, they're sadly anyways. So I think she's injured. Bronson Reed, I believe, is still injured.
Bronson Reed is still injured. Kevin Owens is still recovering from his neck injury.
Yeah, so it feels like those like I will add for an asterisk on Kevin Owens. I do have a thought on that. But yeah, I mean, what are you going to do with these folks? Like,
yeah.
So yeah, they weren't included, but what do you want them to do? You want them to like limp down there on a crutch and a broken drumstick? Like,
yeah.
Okay. All right, fine. I guess we just don't give a damn about anyone's safety anymore. Game on.
No, not for the money I'm paying. I want to see him. Damn it.
Wow.
I kid.
Zero to Heartless in 2 seconds.
I kid.
Good on you, sir.
Thank you.
Do you want to watch LA Knight fly off the Dodge Durango or whatever the hell he was on too?
I was expecting him to slip off. Yes.
Were you on DraftKings, like seeing if you catch odds on that?
Yeah, there was a prop bet around that.
I bet there was.
I'm sure there was. I'm sure there was. All right. Well, just going through some of these names, I kind of had a table here of the top 5 most impactful absences. So we can go through that, or I don't know. Do we want to do a quick run through the list and say, yay or nay, thumbs up, thumbs down if we wanted to see them? How do you want to do this, sir?
I'd rather do the top 5 because I think,
just do the top 5.
I think that'll kind of then speak for itself.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, sir, starting at number 5, walk me through who your number 5 is, and then I'll do mine.
Well, so I want to include an honorable mention here because I thought of this.
Of course you do.
Well, no, I thought of this beforehand because I understand that John Cena is a good inclusion for a WrestleMania host because you're going to draw eyeballs, and they were really just trying to throw anything at the wall to get ticket sales on this thing. So I understand from that perspective. The best guest host you could have asked for this WrestleMania, I believe, Kevin Owens.
Okay.
He's not doing anything. He's a fun guy. And you tell me if at the beginning of WrestleMania night 1, they didn't announce a host or anything like that, and all of a sudden you're down and out, down and out. You tell me that place wouldn't have come fracking unglued. Feel good moment. Yep. And then imagine him interacting with that Danhausen segment. I mean, Cena was great. Kevin Owens would have been unhinged. Like that segment could have gone another 10 minutes with those two in there vamping off of each other, especially if someone gave Kevin a drink before he went out.
Fair enough.
I think that could have been an actual better moment and a way to involve a guy who I think deserves some of that some of those flowers, you know, because I think it's still up in the air whether or not he will actually ever wrestle again. I think his injury was severe enough. We're still in that stage of like, it might turn into Big E territory here where he's just done. And that would be a shame. But that would have been a nice way to get him involved. So I just want to make sure I include that. I notice you've added an honorable mention as well, sir. So what do you got?
Yes, and it kind of well, actually, why don't you do your number 5, because my honorable mention is kind of tied to my number 5, even though yours is not. So what's your number? So honorable mention, Kevin Owens. What's your number 5?
Yeah. I'll go with Joe Hendry at number 5 because I feel like number 1.
Say his name and he appears.
Well, that was a problem. No one said his name. I mean, he was probably just waiting. You know, and it's like, son of a bitch, I flew all the way out here.
Frozen, just like that.
That is a guy who, again, he's over. He's on the roster now. He's not. Is he on the main roster? He's still NXT, right?
He's not officially on the main roster, but I think he's part of the class that is moving on up.
Okay.
So
either way,
the good times class, if you will.
It should have been like after. No, it's Jefferson's.
Oh, I'm sorry, the Jefferson's class then.
Yeah. After last year, with his WrestleMania moment with Randy Orton, which was really entertaining. It was fun. And you know what? I mean, you can't, I get there was people complaining about it afterwards because like, oh, Joe Hendry deserves so much better. It's like, dude, come on. Like, how many people have never been to WrestleMania? Like, never had that, never been a part of it or anything. And he got to do that with a guy who's a living legend who then like aped his move after, which was kind of almost like putting him over in a way. Like, this is so goofy and fun that even Randy Orton, you know, wants to do it. Like, that's kind of cool. It would have been nice to see him involved in this in like a real way instead of just as a jobber for one night. You know, that would have been nice. So who do you got for your honorable mention and your number 5, sir?
So I put honorable mention Tama Tonga. They are definitely starting to groom him as a single star as he breaks away from the MFT faction, and so that plays well. It would have been nice to include him in a match with or working with Solo Sikoa, who is my number 5. Solo Sikoa to me is probably one of the more egregious individuals who was left off the card, only because 2 years prior he was a major part of the Bloodline story, and just all that he did as Roman Reigns' kind of right hand man, and how he kind of took over trying to do his own bloodline. I mean, he is in a lot of ways he is very entertaining. He is in a lot of ways a slimmed down and sort of more efficient version of Roman Reigns. The smack talk this guy does is, I think the fact he's emoting and talking and expressing and leading has made him very entertaining.
Well, his personalities come out.
His personality has come out, and they don't take advantage of it enough. I feel. I feel he's stuck in this spot where he's leading this group of misfits, which may be what MFT stands for. But and now you have Tama Tonga, who is splitting off, and I think he's going to be a solid, mid to upper mid card guy. I don't know that he's world champion material, but I think he's a guy who could have a really good feud with Solo. So I don't know if you have them in a tag versus maybe, the Wyatt 6 tag or something. I guess they kind of put that to bed before WrestleMania, but just have them together so there's more dissension that's teased between the two of them, I thought would be really good. So I really feel like WWE missed the boat by not including him, because he is tremendously entertaining, and I think he would pop the crowd. I think seeing him and Tama Tonga, kind of in a tag match, because putting them against each other right now doesn't make sense. They're still building that up. It's at a simmer right now. It's not at a boil. It's at a simmer. And so WrestleMania could have been a step toward getting it to the boiling point where Tama Tonga kind of breaks out on his own. So that's my number 5, Solo Sikoa, with my honorable mention of Tama Tonga.
I'd go one further and say that Solo Sikoa, like, now that he's kind of found a bit more personality, his personality is a lot more interesting than Roman Reigns. Very bland, Roman is. And Solo
I mean,
actually
Punk cut the promo and he wasn't wrong, right? You're plastic. You're safe.
Mm-hmm.
You're pristine. You're pure. Like, it's just, he is.
Mm-hmm.
Solo is, rough around the edges and is entertaining. He runs his mouth and he tries to back it up in the ring.
Mm-hmm. But the other thing is they have not invested a lot of time in MFTs anyways in terms of anything beyond Wyatt 6.
Yeah.
Which sucks. My number 4 is Tiffany Stratton. As much as I'm not a huge, she needs to get away from like the just relying on Tiffy time, that catchphrase as like a get out of jail free and a leaning on.
Yeah.
She is one of the most talented young female wrestlers that you have on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
She is an enormous talent, a former world champion, and not like a Jade Cargill former world champion where like she didn't defend the belt and then lost it. Tiffany Stratton had the belt for quite a while until she got injured, and then they had to take it off her. How is she not included in WrestleMania?
Mm-hmm.
I do not understand that, especially if you're trying to move her forward and maybe change her image a little, because it feels like there's a little bit of it's not a revamp of Tiffy time, but it is definitely some tweaking and editing going on. Like there's some changes that happening. So I don't understand why you do not have her included. Who you got sitting at your number 4 for who do you miss most?
So I put Braun Breaker, and I know that, a couple of mine are going to be a little ironic because they did show up, but I think what we're talking here are superstars who are booked in a match, and I don't know what Braun's, injury status is, if he's ready for in-ring action or not. Mm-hmm. The fact he's, throwing spears around and running at, 25 miles an hour down the ramp and, leveling Seth Rollins, which, by the way, apparently he gave Seth a black eye because when he did the spear, he was at such an angle that his foot apparently scorpion kicked him right into the eye, which I'm just like, damn, that is some crazy physics that guy is doing with that spear.
Seth Rollins talking about that is so great because he's just like this insane, like just talking about it. And you can tell like there's a degree of admiration coming from Seth. Like, I could never do that at my youngest and most prime physical specimen. And this guy he just doesn't know what the hell, he doesn't understand his own speed, strength, nothing.
Yep.
He's like a golden retriever just bounding towards you.
So I appreciate the fact that I think Rollins and Gunther had the match of the night on night 1, but
easily
Rollins has been in this position before where he doesn't have an opponent. And now it doesn't fit his character right now because he is kind of a babyface character fighting, kind of from behind a little bit. So, but having him in a position where he has a mystery opponent as a way of, keeping himself sharp or just being a part of WrestleMania and having it be Braun Breaker would have been very cool, or just straight up, get Braun in the mix before Mania and have them fight. But I think they're building toward a longer play with that angle. So I understand why they didn't, but the fact that he wasn't on the card, it, just to me is kind of a disservice to him. Now they played a good surprise and they did it in a way that, Seth has an out for losing to Gunther because it wasn't purely because Gunther was the better wrestler. Gunther had his, moments and did his damage and so forth, but there's a case to be made that without that interference, could Seth have won? Possibly, So I just think, not having him on the card was unfortunate because he is the future. Paul Heyman in several interviews has intimated that they are, their long-term plans are with Braun Breaker and with others, but with Braun Breaker being part of, that world title picture. So I think getting him in the mix would have been better than what they did.
I think it is, but I also look at that in terms of like it's almost like you're heading towards a traffic light and you have that point of no return. Like you have to make that determination that even if the light turns yellow at that point, you're still going because it's unsafe for you to stop,
Mm-hmm.
And with injuries being what they are, there's no guarantee. And we don't, at least I don't know what the status was on Braun and when they made the determination that he was cleared to come back, and just how cleared is cleared. Like, was it literally like the week before or 2 weeks before they're like, okay, he's cleared, but there's no way to get him in a ring and get him back to a spot where he can do a full match? Or was it like they're still like wondering heading into the match, like, or heading into WrestleMania a week away, they're like, well, Braun still isn't cleared. He might be, but we're not sure. So
Yeah.
I kind of take that into account, like how much of that is just the nature of being injured and how much time you have before being cleared to then get someone into a ring, get their timing back. I mean, granted, Braun's a young guy, so it probably wouldn't be as bad as like, like they used to have to do with Undertaker, where it's like they take him out of the cryogenic chamber, they give him a ring, they let him bounce around for a while and get, back to it. I mean, Braun could probably be okay, but do you really want to just be okay for WrestleMania?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like I think what they did might have worked out best even for Braun to kind of extend the tail of this thing onward and not put the onus on it being for WrestleMania. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, I'm just afraid they will have spent the ability to do Breakker versus Seth. Like I feel like trying to milk it all the way to next year's WrestleMania is probably not going to work. They're gonna pay it off at SummerSlam, or they're gonna pay it off at some other event and move on. We saw it with, I for a long time thought it was going to be Punk versus Rollins, and of course Rollins got injured, but I thought it was going to be Punk versus Rollins for the championship at this WrestleMania because I felt that's what they were building toward. And then he got injured, and then plans changed.
Yeah.
I thought when Rollins got injured, then I thought it'd be Punk versus Breakker at WrestleMania, which, admittedly Reigns versus Punk was more of the marquee match. But again, Breakker got injured. They probably didn't know if he would be ready or not. And again, we don't know if he's actually ready to wrestle. He's come out, he's cut promos, he's done a little, activity around the ring, but he's not
got his head busted open.
Yeah, I still haven't watched all of last week's Raw, but man, the little bit I did see, it's like, good God, there was like a geyser going there for crying out loud.
Well, and the weird thing is I noticed that this week, because I watched Raw the day after or the 2 days after, they're starting to like pixelate that stuff. They're censoring any kind of blood like on the rebroadcast. I don't know if they're doing that live, which I kind of feel like, again, it's one of those things where like we're on fracking Netflix. We're not on ABC in prime time. Like, again, it's bad enough you give me commercials, and now you're like, oh, and now we're going to censor, we're going to start blurring stuff. It's like, no, this is what I freaking pay for.
Yep.
Like, are you friggin' kidding me? Like, it's not like his eye was caved in or his, his arm is at a weird angle. Like, it's blood. This is wrestling. Corporate America.
It is.
Could I perhaps call for a timeout, sir? I just need to visit the restroom and check with family, so I'll be right back.
Many months later.
Where were we, sir?
We're on your number 3.
Well, it appears that our number 3 is we've met at the midpoint. I'm going to go with Raquel Rodriguez. And who are you going with?
Raquel Rodriguez.
I got to admit, when I can't remember the exact twists and turns that have happened with Miss Rodriguez, but I kind of remember her coming to the mid-roster and then going away, and I believe it wasn't like she had an allergic reaction. She was having like issues with she had some sort of medical issue. I thought it turned out that it was like she had a reaction to makeup or something. There was something that went on, and that took her off TV for a while. Then she came back, and then there was a point when Kevin Nash had mentioned something about she didn't wrestle big enough. And since then, she has definitely changed her style, and it has paid dividends to the point now where they're basically copying, Diesel, Big Daddy Cool, and this Big Mommy Cool. But more than that, I think that her personality has kind of come out a little bit. Like in this badass side of her, it has given her an edge and something to kind of differentiate herself from all the other lady wrestlers. And it's a type of thing where you're like, again, I don't think she's young, like just showed up on the main roster, but she's definitely not in the Becky Charlotte age group either.
Mm-hmm.
So to not have her in some way involved in Mania beyond a run-in, kind of hurts a little bit, I think, you know?
Yeah.
Because that could have been a good Mania match, either as a tag or, you know, as an individual. I think there's some definite meat that was left on the bone there.
Well, and they haven't done anything with what happened at the end of Royal Rumble, which is where, if I'm not mistaken, Liv indirectly caused her elimination, where she's looking at Liv like, what the heck? And then Liv ends up getting the shot. And I'm kind of surprised. You know, I talked about this at length in our last episode. I don't hate or dislike Liv Morgan's character or the person. It's just more, we've been down this road with her before.
Yes.
Give me something different. Give me something new. And that different and that new is that her family, quote unquote, her group is starting to fall apart. The thing that is her stability is starting to fall apart because of her ambition to be a champion. Her friend, her best friend, is starting to move, fall away from her. Now, maybe we get that as this year progresses, and that's the story as we get to SummerSlam or Survivor Series or Royal Rumble, maybe WrestleMania. But again, it's one of those things that it's like, I'm just surprised they introduced it in January and have done nothing with it since then.
Yes.
And the fact that she's not on the card, I mean, even if she was on the card as Liv Morgan's, second, coming to the ring with her or something like that, would have been more than what she got.
Yes.
Yes, she ran down, Roxanne Perez ran down, they ran interference, but just having her there from the beginning as a thorn in Stephanie Vaquer's side, and to me, the way that it should have played out is Raquel inadvertently costs Liv Morgan the championship. And so now you further that divide that's starting. And now they have an issue with each other, and Vaquer can continue to feud with one or both of them. I mean, quite honestly, what I think they should have worked toward was a title change where Vaquer drops the belt at SummerSlam to Rodriguez as a, as a proof point for Rodriguez to now be a star with that title, and take that from SummerSlam all the way to WrestleMania, where she faces off against Liv. And maybe that's where Liv wins the championship, or her friend shows her that she is good. Because the story there is, are you good enough to run with me? Because I'm as she likes to call herself, I'm the greatest champion of all time. By the way, a thought occurred to me this week.
Yes.
Not related to Raquel Rodriguez, but Liv Morgan.
Okay.
Is Liv Morgan not exactly the same level of annoyance as Nia Jax, because her voice is virtually the same except one octave higher than Nia Jax?
No, because Liv actually is interesting in her promos, even when it's. So here's the thing.
Wait a minute. She's interesting in her promos when she stands there and declares herself the greatest of all time, when clearly her friends have basically helped her get to the place that she's at, and she sits there and does the annoying heel shtick thing.
Yes.
That's more interesting than Nia Jax doing virtually the same thing. It's just about her and her size.
Because it's two different people. Here's the thing. And I'm not throwing shade at Nia Jax in this respect. Okay. I'm actually, because Nia Jax and Liv Morgan, because of their stature, are and should be two very different styles of wrestlers. The same as we talked about, with Kevin Nash saying, like, Raquel Rodriguez needs to wrestle differently than she has been. She needs to wrestle essentially like Kevin Nash or any big man in wrestling had comported themselves. Liv Morgan is the HBK to, Raquel Rodriguez's Diesel, if you will. In the same way, Nia Jax is supposed to be like Big Show, Andre, King Kong Bundy, whatever, just physically imposing person. My problem with Nia Jax isn't that her voice can be annoying. It's more so that she doesn't comport herself in a way that is, I will utterly destroy you You cannot match up against me physically. I don't need to get all whiny and I don't need to do that. I can just say 5 words. And you know what? The proof will be in when I get in the ring and I just throw you from pillar to post and just smash you. That's how Nia Jax, in my mind, should be booked. A person of few words, because one, she ain't good on the stick. Period. The end. She should be a person of few words and then just destroy. And that way, when someone beats her, it means something. It doesn't mean anything now because she can't even like do the facial expressions of "I'm going to annihilate you." She comes down to the ring, and I'm like, "Did she get a hold of a bad like fish cocktail or something? Like, what is going on?"
Can I step in? Because something you said is really
okay. Go ahead.
At my craw.
All right.
Liv Morgan is not the female version of HBK.
I mean, in terms of like when you look at the dynamic of like she's going to work in a different way,
but she is not someone that can get in the ring. This is where I have a problem with the result. Vaquer is the person who can get in the ring with anyone and have a great match. Morgan, to me, is not someone who can draw a good match out of someone. She has to basically work with that person to have a good match.
More than likely, but I think
she is not a technician. She is not a main of she is not of the aura of a Shawn Michaels. She is not going to pull a great match out of someone. She has to have that match pulled out of her. Is my perception of things. I could be wrong.
I feel the truth is somewhere in between. But that's just me. I don't feel she's quite as not great as you think she is. I definitely don't think she's Shawn Michaels. I just use that basically as like the dynamic between the two. I definitely don't think she's the Shawn Michaels of the women's division or anything like that.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
If you're comparing the dynamic between the two, then yes, I can see that. But the thing I take issue with is, at the end of the day, I'm not saying Liv Morgan can have a match with a broomstick. She can't. She can't.
But that's like
Shawn Michaels could and make it interesting.
That is such a small percentage that it's almost like one of those deals where it's like, well, why bother comparing people to that standard? Like most people cannot. But just to finish my analogy here, Liv Morgan's gimmick is I'm prettier, I'm cuter, and all that. So the annoying heel shtick and doing the lame promo works in her favor when she's a heel, because then it's like, yeah, I do find you annoying because you're just like, you're literally strutting around in next to nothing, and you're playing off of that, and that's what you think makes you great and all this, and you're not, to go with your thing, you're not all that. You're not the best wrestler. You're not like as good as, but but she's playing it like she is. In that instance, it works for her. The generic stuff works for her. That's why I've always been annoyed with Nia Jax, because I was like, that generic stuff doesn't work for you. You're supposed to be physically imposing and dominant. Liv isn't. She's 5 foot fracking 1 or whatever she is. That's not her gimmick. So that kind of works more for her than it does for Nia. We're supposed to be talking about Raquel here, though. But I will say, I love your fantasy booking for Raquel and how that should have played out. And I'd love to have watched that. I don't think that's where we're heading, though, unfortunately.
Yep. We are not. All right. Who'd you have for number 2?
Carmelo Hayes.
I would agree with that. Being a former United States champion, you think he would be included in the mix here.
It is one of those deals where, like, you're trying to push the younger guys, and again, I know Carmelo Hayes is not like, I don't think he's like 22 or something. He's what, late 20s. He's not old.
I'm looking it up,
but I mean, but he had that run with the U.S. title, unless he's hurt and they're trying to like
31.
Unless he's hurt undercover and they're trying to kind of like not make that a big deal. This is a guy you should be pushing. Like, he kind of came up to some fanfare. People loved him in NXT, and he was listless in the main roster until you kind of got him the U.S. title, and it's like, oh, well, the fans started to care because, like, oh, you actually are going to care about him. So that's the problem. Like, it's the same thing that has foiled LA Knight time and time again is like fans are hesitant to keep investing in this guy, and they start cooling on him because like, well, you aren't going to push him, so why should I get involved? Like, we've been saying we want this guy, and then you just kind of cool on him, and oh well, screw him. Same with Carmelo Hayes. Until they showed they were actually going to give him a push, I think the fans were kind of hesitant to really get behind him.
Yeah,
they did, and then you kind of just slough it off to Sami Zayn. And I get why you're kind of doing that, but at the same time, now you've elevated Trick. If they don't manage to find a way to get Carmelo involved back with Trick and to get Sammy out of this, which I'm hoping is the plan, then this has done a complete disservice to Carmelo Hayes. Because it's, again, like, I don't know that much about him, but I've watched enough of his matches to be like, this dude's good in the ring. I can't say that I've seen a ton of promos for him, but it seems like he can talk a little bit, which, again, that's enough to work with. Like, why are we not pushing this guy? Why? Like, I don't get it. You need wrestlers who can put on good matches, because eventually, like, the top 10%, 20% of your company is going to retire in the next 2 to 3 years. Do we want to redo like what happened with Vince, where you basically, get your ass kicked by another company? You're like, well, I guess we need to figure something out. You want to hit rock bottom, or do you want to just like do like the Patriots and kind of keep building as you go along? Anyways, who's your number 2?
My number 2 is someone who was the world champion last year and retained her title, and somehow it didn't end up on the card this year, which to me is a complete travesty of justice, is Tiffany Stratton. I don't understand. I know she was out for a little bit and she came back. I do agree that they need to change up her character a bit. And I think of the matches that most of the matches that we saw on the card, I think one of the things that was lacking and why Punk Reigns, stood out so much was the story. Like, what's the hook here? What's the conflict between these two, or between these 4, or between these 6 that I really am supposed to anchor onto? And that's where I think WWE is struggling right now. They're not booking, matches in a way that are telling a story that is going to pay off, at one of their big events long term. It almost feels like they're kind of booking from the hip a little bit, and they're not, booking in a way that sets these characters up for success. The women.
Well, I feel like they're booking too much from the main event, and then everything else is just like, well, we'll figure.
Well, that's where I was going to go. Like the women's tag, for example, is a great example of that. Like, yes, in the weeks leading up, they had different matches between, the 8 women who are a part of that, but at the end of the day, like, okay, so 3 of the teams want the tag titles. That's really the story. Like there's no bad blood between either of these teams. Like, fans are not like amped up to see Charlotte go after Nia for some reason. You know what I mean? It's just transactional. Like, I want your belt, as opposed to when you get to Punk and Reigns, it's kind of, that deeper story about where you came from, what has been your struggle, why are you unable to show up, and I am, week after week. Again, not everyone can have that story, but there's a way to, like, you got to develop a story, and you have to create a story, and they just aren't doing it with some of folks. LA Knight, Usos, Logan Paul, that whole 6-man tag was another great example of that.
I will say, I think I'm not trying to downplay her, because I think there is that there needs to be better stories. However, I think there does need to be room for, I want that belt because it's important to me.
Yes.
But at the same time, you need to have a way to express that.
Yes.
It needs to be a story around that. It can't just be like, well, I'm in a tag team, so I want tag team belt. Like, you and everything else, you and everybody else. Like, who cares? Like, why do we care about this more than that?
Like, if I'm being honest, like Bayley and what's her name?
Lyra,
thank you. Bayley and Lyra, like, to me, they're one of those flimsy stories. It's just like, all of a sudden, like, where did Bayley's split personality go? All of a sudden, that's gone.
That WCW'd out the window. Like, there's like, forget
right?
What happened.
And now it's just like, let's go for the tag belts.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, the whole idea before
it's
that,
like,
well, it was before, it was like Lyra trying to get like Bayley her WrestleMania moment, because she missed WrestleMania last year.
Right.
Which fine, but at the same time, like if you're going to detour this into, well, Paige is back, so therefore,
right.
Well, who gives a frag? Now you've given me less of a reason to care about Bayley, who is one of your like female living legends. Let's, yeah.
So I just, that's where I think there's a sense of this was kind of a middle of the road event, because WrestleMania should be the culmination of a story for all the matches that happen on it. And yes, I'll leave some grace to say you can't have the same level of storytelling for everyone, but at the same time, you've got to, find a way to start ginning up interest in what's going on. Like you said, Trick versus Carmelo, I could see them go a route where it's Trick and Carmelo in the same way it was Carmelo and Andrade before Andrade left or was let go. Like they had a great, sequence of matches. I mean, I caught a few of those matches, and they were doing, their matches were, quite honestly, outclassing, I think, some of the main event level stuff, because they were telling a great story in the ring, but it wasn't given the importance and this again goes to the creative team. Like, I think the creative team has tunnel vision and has a lack of vision. And I don't know if it's, coming due for certain members like, Hayes and Pritchard to, get out of the way and let some other minds come in here and start trying to, create some interesting ideas and some stories and stuff. I don't know. And I don't know if Hayes and Pritchard do a lot with stories versus just, putting matches together, but overall, like, I feel like that was the thing that was lacking was story. And like Cody and Randy, they had a great story going into it, and then it got all cocked up because of the fact that they threw McAfee in.
Well, and then you get into the whole idea now of people like, oh, well, WWE is screwed because Triple H isn't in charge. I'm like, dude, if you actually like, I don't know where people have day jobs, like, is everybody like I'm self-employed, but you know what? I have worked for any number of different companies. I've worked for very large corporations. I have worked for, state-run institutions. So technically I was a government worker for several years. I have worked for, retail giants. I understand, like, if you think that your manager is in charge of the store, you're kind of out of your mind. Like, I get that there's a certain amount of latitude. Like when we worked for, back in the day, we worked in service merchandise. The store manager was a guy named Mike Dunnels, who was a bit of a cowboy. And there was a story back before we were employed there, where when there was a blackout or it was bad weather or something, apparently he opened up the store and got the word out somehow. This is pre-internet and all that. But like, people needed batteries. They needed, at that time, like, service merchandise sold kind of a little bit of everything. So they had camping gear, like people needed blankets or whatever. He was there out selling stuff out the back door of the store, cash only, because you can't, you're not running credit cards, standing there with a shotgun to make sure there wasn't no loot.
Okay.
But he could kind of get away with that because the store that we worked at was one of the most profitable service merchandises in the country. So you can kind of, you have that leeway. So yeah, this person who you work for in the corporate structure might have a little bit of leeway until they don't. And then you're out. So if anybody thought that Triple H had the latitude to do whatever the hell he wanted under the TKO structure, like, they're smoking crack. Like, there's always someone to run this through. The same as like the often cited thing of like, oh, Ryan Johnson completely went off script and did this and that and the other. Like, oh yes, because nobody was checking on him with this multi-billion-dollar franchise. Nobody was checking in on him like it's some indie film that they were doing off in the corner for a couple $100. Like, sorry, Kathy Kennedy and JJ signed off on all of it. Same as TKO. Well, you're going to be beholden to them as well. So all of this is, it's dictated in some way, shape, or form. So you can only do so much, but at the same time, it is beholden to those people who are in charge to try and to explain to their higher ups, hey, this is what's going to be profitable. Mm-hmm. And the alternative is now there's a lot of people who are going back and now revisionist history, which is fracking amusing to watch on the internet wrestling community. We're better off with Vince. Like, oh my gosh, talk about going back and talking about the Phantom Menace was a masterpiece of cinema, revisionist history. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, if you're running the company as your own private family company, you can do whatever you want. And we saw what happened with Vince. Mm-hmm. And you start going off into these weird angles and stuff like that, where it's like, well, because nobody can tell him what to do, Vince is just going to satisfy his own sense of humor, which is apparently at a third grade level.
Yes.
So there's pluses and minuses to both sides of this, but it's like at some point it comes down to like, you got to make folks understand, or you just have to ditch out of it, you know? And you know, some of this comes down to just like what's going to work and what doesn't.
Right.
I guess.
So that was my main gripe with Tiffany is I don't think they positioned her with a good story. I don't think they gave her a good opponent. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's just odd that you would have someone who's in the world title picture the year before and is out the following year. Just seems wrong to me. So that's why I kind of put her up at number 2, that they should have made room for her in some way, shape, or form to be a part of the event, because, you know, she's earned it. She reigned for a long time as champion. She lost it to someone who apparently didn't defend the belt until the event itself, which was just mind-boggling to me.
Mm-hmm. Which actually should have been her coming back. And if anything, like somehow getting involved, like I never should have lost this belt.
Mm-hmm. Probably should have been a triple threat with Rhea, her, and Jade, but
which honestly, I mean, as good as I kind of liked the Rhea Jade match, and I felt like Rhea actually did a really good job selling for Jade, and I think that Jade actually did a better job than what anyone anticipated. Now I wonder how much of that is Rhea or how much is just whatever. I kind of want to see that match, like Jade, Rhea, and Tiffany. As much as I don't love triple threat matches, that could be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Again, your fantasy booking is killing this event for me in retrospect.
I know.
Damn you, sir.
I should go apply to be a writer, even though I've never written a damn thing in my life.
Well, that doesn't necessarily apply, because some people haven't, watched any wrestling, and you've watched more wrestling than all of them. So
probably. All right. You and I are aligned on the number 1.
Our unified, undisputed number 1 person we miss most
is our the genius of the sky, Io Sky. That's right. Point at your head like you just don't care.
How the hell did this happen?
She was in what was deemed one of the best matches last year at WrestleMania, the triple threat with Rhea, her, and Bianca Belair, which really launched into
Rio.
The match that they had, I think, at SummerSlam, where it was between Rhea and Io, I believe. I think it was SummerSlam. Because they wanted to run it back again because they had such a great match, and I think Bianca was injured still at that point.
Yes.
And then she's involved in this feud with Asuka and Kairi Sane, which, by the way, the Kabuki Warriors were supposed to be apparently plugged into the Bella Twin slot if Nikki couldn't perform, and then apparently the whole Paige thing happened, and that changed everything. So yeah, Io not being a part of it is similar to Tiffany is just it's just a travesty. It's just like, how do you have someone who's one of your best performers and they don't make the card? Now, yes, she ran down, she had a part in Rhea's match, running down and thwarting, whatever, Jade's group, Mitchin and B-Fab or whatever her name is, getting involved in that sort of thing. But it just felt like, the scraps from the table for someone who really should be, sitting at the table, dining on, filet mignon, and said she's, hoping to get a scrap dropped her way, which is just weird. So, what was your reasoning for Io on that front? Is it similar? Is there anything I might have missed?
It's very similar, and it goes back to what Becky Lynch said. I think you had this in one of the articles about, why are we running the same main event playlist over and over and over again?
Yep.
Like, why? Like, why are the ladies not given more of a chance?
Yep.
Like we how many years removed from women's main event at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
And we're nowhere near there right now, which to me is egregious considering how many times that we have sat here and recapped events and been like, the women's event, like the women's Rumble, the women's Survivor Series was better than the men's.
Mm-hmm.
Better story, better action, better interactions, all of it. And yet they're, for whatever reason, still kind of just not mentioned. And honestly, like, you could have even gone deeper in this list.
Mm-hmm.
Where the frack is Sol Ruca? One of the bright shining stars, charismatic as hell.
I mean, technically she's not on the main roster.
She isn't, but she's been on the main programs. Come on. I mean, like, again, and
they brought her in at Raw after WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Promote her up, have her fight, and she fought Liv. I thought that made sense.
But at the same time, like, my point being, not necessarily like, oh, Sol Ruca. There is a backlog of really good women's talent. Where are they? Why are they not, like, why do we not have like a men's main event and a women's main event? Like, why isn't night one and night two the other? If you're not getting to that point, you're wasting talent. Rhea Ripley in a semi-main event, like, is kind of a waste. Mm-hmm. Rhea Ripley is one of your most over talents on your roster, men or women. That's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. You're leaving money on the table. And, I mean, if Vince is to believe this whole thing is about drawing money, well, draw some money. Son of a bitch. Anyways, Io Sky would have drew some money.
She would have. 100%. 100%. So, and I'm keeping an eye on time here, sir. So, that in mind, what can WWE do to improve?
How about you go first on this? Because I have yapped quite.
I have nothing written down on this. So I was
okay. Well,
I mean, okay. I'll take the floor because you have.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Oh, sweet Lord, please don't.
Just don't. Reference. Calm yourself down.
Jeez, Louise, my gosh.
Comments. Go ahead. Right ahead.
You talk about taking on some syphilis from the belt. I don't know what to do here, but no. How can WWE improve? Well, I think I've already kind of made the case for the stories around the matches. I think that has been stated. I think as well, for an event like this, you've got to balance out, your matches as well. You don't want to wear the crowd out. The matches themselves, with a total match time being around, what it was like 38% of the time.
37-ish, I think.
37% of the time. There was another stat I thought I saw that, a lot of matches ran very, like less than 20 minutes on average, which, may not sound like a lot, but for a wrestling match, it kind of is, especially like the 6-man tag, for example, was less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So the entrances were probably longer than the actual match itself. And it ended up being just a showcase for iShow Speed to do a splash off the top, or a frog splash off the top of the turnbuckle onto a table.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's what that match was for. It was for the spectacle. It was on ESPN. They were just trying to, wow the crowd. But, for them to, I think they need to try to shoot for a few more matches, I think, which I know sounds like, kind of working against the idea of having kind of a trim event. But when you have most events at 4 matches, I think it's fair to say make it 8 or 9, because it is the, World Series. It is the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. So it has to have a little more to it, and make the space for, for those extra matches, because at the end of the day, that's where you have to start. And I'm looking at your, some of your points, and I agree with them, but it has to start with making time and space for those things to take place. Like, you can't bring youth in if you don't make space for matches, right? It doesn't matter if they're old or young. If you're not going to make space for the matches, it doesn't matter, right? So first of all, create some space and some time to have some more undercard matches. I think they made the right move with the main events, making them the longer matches. So I guess I'll go back to what I just said about match length and say maybe they made the right choice because you want your main events to be longer. That's what people paid for. You put more into those, and maybe that's where the story needs to go, is in those main event and upper main event upper card matches. But invest in the story, create space for 8 or 9 matches per night, which I know is a lot, but it gives the opportunity to bring more talent in. And, with a reasonable story in place, I won't say a strong story because you're not going to hit 1,000 every time. I think you will have a better reception to, what is provided. I don't think anyone's coming out of these 2 nights. Well, sorry. Night 1, I don't think anyone's coming out saying that the mid card was strong. I think, as I outlined, I say 3 matches stood out. Gunther and Seth, Cody and Randy, Jacob and Drew. Those were the 3 that stood out. Everything else was noise. It didn't stand out. It's not that it wasn't good. It just didn't stand out. It wasn't, when I think of WrestleMania, I think of moments, I think of excitement, I think of energy. Some of those matches just didn't stand out. Paige coming back, great. That match overall, I couldn't tell you what the hell happened in the match other than Paige pinned someone. That's it. Because everything else was so insignificant in that match, it just didn't matter. So I think if you can create matches where each match has some impact on the event, I think you start to build equity with the crowd. Like, hey, this is living up to the high value Super Bowl type event that we have been sold on. So that to me is probably the most important. I think once they establish that, then we kind of get into your points, which I think get into some very, very astute observations and correct observations about what they need to do. So what are your points on how they can improve when you take into account my point on story and space for these matches?
One thing I would disagree with you.
Come on, man.
Well, no, because
get on board the gravy train. Woo woo. Sorry.
All aboard the whole. Oh,
well, I wasn't trying to go there. whoa, player.
Different era altogether. I am one of probably the minority that enjoys the Triple H era of 5 match cards, because I feel like it should be a big fight feel. And I understand that we want in some ways to include more people. Like, it seems counterintuitive for me to say, like, here's the people who should have been included, and I want less matches. I think there needs to be a restructuring of how we think about these things. Like PLEs, if they're going to be PLEs, if they're going to be premium live events, they need to be blow-offs. They need to be big fight. And that's why I enjoy the idea of a 5-match card, because these are all going to be given space over the course of 3 hours to breathe, to resolve themselves. And they should feel like a big deal, because if it's not a big deal, then we can settle it somewhere else. The problem being that WWE has not figured out how to settle things in other places. Like, it's every fracking thing is in service of the PLEs. Learn how to solve some feuds on Raw. It's okay. Not every feud needs to go to a PLE. It's okay to have a mid-card feud that's settled on TV. It's okay. It can happen.
May I object?
Okay.
Yes. Jeez, don't give yourself a concussion with the mic. Is your schnozzle in order, sir?
I almost scanned myself.
Your microphone did one of these. It was like, bam! It was like an uppercut of microphones.
It was like, welcome back, Cotter. Up your nose with a rubber hose. Except it was a Shure SM58.
Oh, my God. My objection is this. This is the Super Bowl of wrestling, though.
Yes. Do you have
I don't disagree with what you said. Hold on. I don't disagree with what you're saying about the shorter format. I too like that. I like that a lot. I do understand it comes at the cost of other talent. Being able to have a presence on said event. So, these events have really like the high value, matches that should take place. However, you need to distinguish WrestleMania from those other events. You just do. Like I understand Rumble has the same, kind of number of matches. Survivor Series is about 4 as well. SummerSlam, SummerSlam has gone to a 2-night format. And I'm not, advocating for SummerSlam to grow in terms of its matches either. I think doing 4 or 5 each night makes sense. But for WrestleMania, it's kind of like the show of shows. So to me, it needs to be bigger. It needs to have more. And to keep it at the same size as the other ones, kind of, it doesn't elevate it. It just kind of makes it more of the same. So it doesn't stand out in my mind.
So I'm confused. So you're arguing for it being the show of shows, and yet you're going to water down the matches that are on that.
No, I'm not advocating for water. No, if you heard what I said, I'm advocating for story, and I'm advocating for the time to get a few more matches in place so that each night feels like like a above premium sort of event. I mean, people are paying
4 to 5 hours each night.
I would like. Sorry,
I'm just confused because even though it's a pay-per-view, like there is a finite amount of time. Like, that you can't have a 4 to 5 hour wrestling event. Like, people are just going to be done. So if let's say 3 hours and 30 minutes is the sweet spot of let's just say that's the cap. 3 hours, 30 minutes, that's as much as you're going to go. If you're going to say, well, we want 8 or 9 matches, you're still only dealing with 3 hours, 30 minutes. When in your other premium live events, you're dealing with 5 matches in that time. So you're kind of watering down those matches in a way, like you're rushing them to the finish, where I kind of feel like we're going in the same spot. I feel like if you're going to have a WrestleMania match, it needs to be a story that is worthy of building to that point. Those are the matches, like PLEs need to be like, okay, here is the blow off. Either that, or if it's a story worth continuing, then it's a through line. But most of these should be ending at a PLE. So like Survivor Series or wherever. But they should continue to WrestleMania and maybe culminate. But then there also needs to be this way of like, sometimes it launches, or maybe it continues through WrestleMania. I'm kind of advocating for WrestleMania is, yes, it's kind of the beginning and the end of the wrestling calendar. But there needs to be stuff that goes through it. It can't just be like, well, we end here and then everything starts new. Like, well, no, you kind of need some stuff that's like, it's jumping off.
Okay, except for the fact that's the stated goal of WrestleMania. WrestleMania is the culmination of the season. It is the end of the season. And Monday Night on Raw the next night is the kickoff for the next season, which is the year.
Okay, but that's a rule that has been made by WWE.
Sure. And I agree with it. I think it's like, have a big event to close out your stories that have run, and from that event forward, you start new stories. It is the end of a chapter. You turn the page, you start a new chapter. I think that makes sense.
And then we can disagree on that, but I feel like you're saying to water down, you get more.
I'm not saying to water down. You're saying I'm saying
well,
to
no,
water
you're
down.
saying if you want 8 or 9 matches per night, like you're watering those down. They go from, however many, you take the average of 5 to over 3.5 hours, and now you're going to double it.
Don't do 3.5 hours. Do 4 hours. Make each night a 4-hour event.
Oh, golly, we're going to add 30 extra minutes for another 4 matches. Cool.
I didn't say 4 matches. I said 2. Another 2.
Your math ain't working out here, sir. Because if it's 5, let's just go with 5, and then you said like 8.
They did 13 matches. One night had 6. The other so night 1 had 7. Night 2 had 6. Right?
No,
I'm advocating to go up to maybe what?
I thought it was 8 and 5. Anyways, go ahead.
I'm advocating that they go up to 8 matches, maybe per night, so 16 matches. Maybe go to 4 hours. You are going to give more time to your main event and maybe your semi-main event, and the other matches you have to divvy the time up accordingly. But here's the thing, though: if you're going to talk about cutting back the number of matches to 4 or 5. Then this entire conversation we're having is moot, because you're going to cut wrestlers. You're not going to have enough room for everyone.
Exactly. But I think that it then becomes a matter of, you have to structure storytelling in such a way. you have to understand that.
And are people going to pay the prices they want to charge for WrestleMania when you're only doing 4 or 5 matches? I don't think so.
If the matches are good, what I'm saying is like every match on WrestleMania, and again, I feel like this is one of those deals where we've talked about, like, you don't, in movies or television, you don't need to adhere to the rules and the reality of what we of the real world.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to adhere to the reality that you have established in the thing that you are creating.
Mm-hmm.
For WrestleMania, if you truly want to make it the show of shows, the showcase of the immortals, which has never been, because there's always been schmuck matches on WrestleMania right from the very beginning, when you had Playboy Buddy Rose wrestling as like Mr. Wrestling or whatever it was. Like, you had some jobber matches on the first WrestleMania, so you can't, calling it every match is like supposed to be a classic is just absolute bullshit at its greatest. What I'm saying is, if you are going to truly adhere to this level, unfortunately, the thing you're going to have to adhere to is that, like, the bar to entry is like 4-star matches, 3 and 3/4 star matches, like, that have that potential. Like, Gunther, Seth Rollins becomes like, that's table stakes. Not from a build-up perspective, perhaps, but from an in-ring stance.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't deliver that, it shouldn't be on WrestleMania. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm okay with 5 matches each night. If you give me 5 matches that have a build-up and a story and an in-ring action that equates to something like Femi or Gunther and Seth Rollins,
mm-hmm.
hell yes, I will pay them. I will pay the price for that. Yes.
Okay, so I hear you, but the entire premise of the show then is completely moot then, because what you're basically because you have to cut talent if you're going to go less matches.
No, I'm saying it isn't moot, because we're not saying like you should add these on to what was already there. I'm saying
that's what I was advocating.
Oh, hell no. I'm saying, like, if you want to have Tiffany Stratton, Joe Hendry, Raquel Rodriguez, Carmelo Hayes, Io Sky, we're cutting some stuff. We're cutting that 6-man tag with the Usos and LA Knight and the Vision. We're cutting that 4-way tag match.
Then I think we have to agree to disagree. You're advocating for a shorter card, which means more people are going to get cut.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have an even longer list than we already have now, which to me,
no, we won't.
Kind of goes against the premise.
Because I was judging this against like what we saw. Like, I would rather see these 5 people in matches as opposed to some of the matches that we saw, especially night 1. Like, almost, I could take most of night 1 and throw it out and throw these 5 people into matches,
mm-hmm.
and I feel like we'd have a better event.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I say we could take Joe Hendry versus Carmelo Hayes, Raquel Rodriguez versus Tiffany Stratton, then you throw let's just take Io Sky and Tiffany Stratton,
mm-hmm.
and then Raquel Rodriguez incorporate her into the Liv Morgan, match. Right there,
mm-hmm.
better event.
And what matches were you going to get rid of?
We're going to get rid of that 4-team tag team match.
Okay.
Again, but this is not just like me doing it the week before. This is like planning this stuff out beforehand, so you have a compelling story going in here.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like, yes, not everybody gets to be in WrestleMania. Same as not everybody gets to play in the NBA Finals. Not everybody gets to play in the Super Bowl. Well, tough luck. That's the way it works.
I think we need to agree to disagree. You want a shorter, tighter event. I want something that showcases the talent and quality stories.
No. Don't play it off that way. I don't want a shorter
event.
What
do you mean? You do.
I want...
Numerically, you want to go down to 5 matches. That is concrete and irrefutable.
No. That is number of matches. I'm not talking about cutting the event back to like 2.5 hours. I'm saying, like, keep it at 3.5 hours.
I didn't say that.
Give me 5 matches over that span. Give me 5 matches that are going to breathe and have stakes, and that I'm going to sit there and be on the edge of my seat for.
But the card is shorter, right?
No, it's the same amount of match time. It's the same amount of action that's going on, because it's matches that I actually give a shit about, as opposed to the 4. And as nice as the 6-pack ladder challenge was, like, would I have rather seen Penta go one-on-one with somebody? Kind of.
I don't know. That was one of the better matches on night 2 as well.
It was, but at the same time, like, but is there another way to do that is what I'm saying. If you have these other people incorporated, I'm much more willing to accept something like that, as opposed to like, well, night 1 really sucks, so here's a spectacle of like people almost crippling themselves. All right.
Okay. We're going to go way too long going back and forth on this. So I am advocating for a slightly longer, so basically 8 matches per night, 4-hour event, maybe 4.5 hours, just for WrestleMania. All the other events can stay at the 4 or 5 matches because I think that's a good structure.
That's mighty nice of you.
And I think that would help incorporate more talent and provide a better event. You, sir, on the other hand, are advocating for a shorter number of matches, not a shorter. You want to keep it to 3.5, 4 hours, so shorter than what I'm advocating for, and that is what we are. So that those are the two ends of the spectrum that we sit on.
They are.
I'm glad you admit it. So, anyways,
sorry, but Bernie
moving right along.
The senator from Vermont has spoken. The gavel has been brought down,
and he's addressing your situation. So I appreciate that.
Can we actually take just a minute pause? Okay.
We can.
I'll be right back.
12 seconds later.
And where are we next, sir? We've now decided we've fixed WrestleMania, even though I don't think I got to any of my points. I disagree with you, and then we went completely off.
Do you want to hit some of your points? I mean, you chose to go down the number of matches path. So.
Because I disagree with you. Okay, so briefly, if you're going to start a youth movement, get on it. Part ways with as many part-time players as possible and as soon as possible. So, like, I understand you have folks on a contract, you have folks involved in stuff. If they're part-time or they're on the way out, do it as quickly as you can. Like, if you're going to use Roman and he's saying, I want to be done in a year, like, have him be done in a year and be done. Randy wants to get out, have him get out. Just get out from under as many of the folks who are kind of just hanging around that main event area as possible and be done. Start getting younger talent involved in some actual storylines instead of having them dip in and out. This would apply to Saul Ruka. It also, finally we got Trick Williams kind of get involved in stuff. Obafemi, like all that's great, but if there's no room for them to go up, it doesn't matter. Here's one that'll really maybe rattle some cages. Take tag team wrestling seriously, or just dissolve the championships here, and I mean all of them, both men's tag belts as well as the women's. If you're not going to take this shit seriously, just be done with it. Don't even act like you care about it, because it's just frustrating. And here's the new rules as far as I'm concerned. Teams should be a cohesive unit, not two talents mashed together to save on screen time. If they don't have a team name, a single entrance theme, and some kind of cohesive look to them, they shouldn't be in the tag picture for long. Now, there are moments when you have like the Rock and Sock connection, which they kind of still came out to their own things. They weren't really cohesive, but they at least had a name. But they also weren't meant to be a long-term tag team. That's where you can have people come together. Like, if Nia Jax and Lash Legend are going to be a tag act, good. Like, at least they come down to the same theme. I give them that. But if Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss are going to continue to be a tag team, which I think they could be, I think they've been great. I think they could continue to be either a name or a single theme or something. Enough of this dual entrance theme songs. Like, somebody bites the bullet, and either it's maybe like what you come out to Alexa's theme, or you leave to Alexa's theme, you come out to Charlotte's theme, you leave to whatever it is. I'm done with this whole like having to have two entrances thing. It's not tag teams. Send a memo to creative that nobody gives a shit about the Usos beyond their entrance and the New Day are way past expiration. Like, that, you can't have them hold the banner for the tag division anymore. There needs to be someone else. Spend 30% less time on the men's main event picture. It'll get over on its own. You don't need to be hammering it over everyone's fracking head. If the story is good enough, you don't need to be hammering it into our foreheads. Spend more time building actual stories for the women's main event scene. Actually have a women's main event at a PLE and television. Holy shit, what a concept. Those are my ways of improving and fixing.
Very nice. Thank you, sir.
All right. And now we're on to people who have been future endeavored otherwise, which I'm very disappointed that Gunther just didn't have a series of squash matches on Raw. Just retire everybody. It would have been great. Like, especially like the people who are like tag teams or like pairs, just like pin them both at the same time. Just like the entire Raw was just like, these people are going away.
For our listeners,
yes,
on Friday, April 24th, in this foul year of our Lord 2026,
a day that will live in infamy,
we affectionately or disturbingly call this WWE's Black Friday. A number of talent were basically given their walking papers. It was made clear in the article that I saw that this was not due to contracts coming up. This was actual releases happening. 24 individuals were released. I will run through the list quickly and then we'll go back through it and comment. Basically, the entire Wyatt Six were let go, which is just shocking to me because of the amount of time and investment that had gone into that group. They were coming off of a rather flat angle with Solo Sikoa's MFT group,
that lasted forever.
The investment made in their introduction and the way they were, brought in as kind of this very different, faction of individuals, was just. I'll get more into my feelings on that. So that includes Uncle Howdy, aka Bo Dallas, who is the brother of Wyndham Rotunda, who is known as Bray Wyatt. Nikki Cross, Joe Gacy, Eric Rowan, Dexter Loomis, and I think that is, let me see, 2, 3, 4, 5. Was there a 6 that I'm missing?
No, it was always 5, and then they never kind of capitalized on the 6.
Yes. Zoe Stark, sadly, who was injured and was about to come back from injury, and they let her go, apparently.
Although she was doing some stuff behind the scenes, so I wonder if they might be bringing her back as a coach in a different contract. I don't know.
Alba Fire, who was part of the Hervis of Chelsea Greens. She sadly was of the tag team from 2 years ago that won the belts in Ireland or Scotland. I forget if it was Scotland or Ireland. But one of the PLEs that we covered, she and her tag partner was released, I think, either summer or fall of last year.
Yeah, a while ago.
And now she is finding herself in a similar fate. Andre Chase, Eric Rowan. I'll get to who that is. Eric Rowan, Dexter Loomis, Dante Chen, Aleister Black, which just blows my mind, and his wife, Selena Vega. Kari Zane. We'll talk about that in a moment. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. What the frickin' hell? Santos Escobar, Apollo Crews. Now, when we get to the bottom of this list, I do have some things to share around this, as you, sir, may not be as tied into some of these names. Tyra May Steele, Serena Linton, Tyson DuPont, Tyreek Igwe, Trill London, Chris Island, Malik Blade, and Luca Crucifino.
Some great names in there, but I have no idea who the hell they are.
Yes. So let's start at the top of the list. So Uncle Howdy, Nikki Cross, Eric Rowan, Dexter Loomis, the Wyatt Six. Sir, what are your thoughts on this release? Because this was kind of surprising to me, given the amount of TV time and investment that WWE put in, and was kind of hoping once they broke out of this MFT angle that they would let them, kind of venture into some other interesting feuds. But what are your thoughts here?
First of all, I never had an idea of how much the internet wrestling community loved the Wyatt Six up until they got released, because before this, all I ever saw was like negativity directed at them and how lame this whole thing with the MFTs was. And now apparently these guys were the linchpin in the wrestling future. The biggest thing that I think befell them is WWE creative did not fully commit. Their introduction was amazing. People were behind it. There was the groundswell of support and nostalgia for Bray Wyatt. And they never capitalized on any of the kind of threads that they kind of let out for them. Like there was that big thing of like how they had left essentially like this trail of destruction through Gorilla, and prominently showed Chad Gable as one of the people that they like laid out and was left bleeding, and then he was fine the next week, which kind of undercut that. They never capitalized on that. They kind of started out with a little thing with Gable, and then he went off. I think he got injured before that could happen, or did the El Grande Americano thing or whatever. They never capitalized on that. And then they just refused to commit to the kind of the supernatural elements of the faction. And I saw someone talk about that a little bit on Reddit, where they were talking about how, like, well, Triple H is much more reality based and it's much more sports than entertainment, as opposed to Vince, who is much more likely to lean into those things. And it's like, I get that, but at the same time, like, this is what would make that special. Like, everything else is reality here. And then you have these weirdos who show up and it's like, well, what the hell is up with them? That would easily make them stand out, and they never leaned into it. That, and they never, and this is something I don't understand with factions in the WWE that involve both males and females. Why does it never cross over? Like, how come Nikki Cross wasn't causing trouble with the Wyatt, via the Wyatt Six in the women's division? How come, like, the Judgment Day doesn't kind of, in a way, like, how come some of that doesn't cross over? How come, like, the whole thing with, like, AJ Lee and CM Punk is so siloed that, like, AJ Lee is getting her ass kicked. We know it's Monday Night Raw. We know CM Punk is in the building, and yet he's hanging out there, out back and catering, while his wife is getting, her ass kicked. I don't know. Some of those things where it feels like there is just a disconnect that doesn't make any sense. And I feel like the Wyatt Six, granted, like, Dexter Lumis and some of these guys, not the most, charismatic of folks. But of course, I think one of the biggest problems, and I saw this referred to, I can't take credit about this. There was a note about this on, I think it was a comment on Reddit, was like, someone basically said, what did you expect? They were essentially a cover band, which is true, because it's a cover band of The Fiend and all that stuff. But it didn't help that it's the Wyatt Six. There's 5 of them. And granted, they said 6 as in, SICKS, not the number 6, but leaning towards that, like there was always going to be a 6th member, and they never did it. Like, never went after Chad Gable to be the 6th member. They never went after Alexa Bliss to be the 6th member. Like, there was no kind of thing. It just became, it's the 5 of them, but they're 6. Aren't we weird? Like, I get it. But it is a shame, but at the same time, I get it. Like, and it also feels a little disingenuous that everybody's acting like, oh my gosh, it's like they cut the friggin' Fabulous Freebirds, the Midnight Express, at the height of their, or the friggin' Road Warriors, the height of their.
Well, I think it's because there was an expectation they would do more. This is a failure of creative. This is not a failure of the talent. This is a failure of creative.
But at the same time, like the way that fans have reacted, like they actually gave a crap about this faction. At its current state, to me, is a little disingenuous. Like, there was a lot of people who were like, oh my gosh, they're playing off of Bray's legacy. And there was a whole bunch of negativity about this faction when it debuted. Let's not go completely into the revisionist history pipeline. It's a shame, but at the same time, like, don't cry like we're cutting Demolition, at day 301 of their 400-day reign. Like, come on, creative failed, but it's also like there was a lot of people who were bitching about this from day one.
All right.
Anyways, And actually, I'll go here. The biggest shame out of this is the fact that Nikki Cross was totally underused. Like, did she even wrestle a match?
She hasn't wrestled, I think, since fall of 2025. So, yeah.
And she can go. I mean, she's not like the greatest female wrestler ever, but she can go. And totally underused in this entire thing. Hopefully she at least made some money out of this, and it was easy money.
That would be good. That would be good. Yeah, I don't have much more to add. I mean, yeah, the Wyatt Six, I think, were just underutilized. I also think there's sometimes a struggle with some of these kind of way out there acts in this age of WWE as well. Because, you know, how you frame the supernatural to some of the grounded reality that exists for some of the characters in the universe is, I think, a challenge for creative. But to your point, there could have been some interesting crossovers with Judgment Day, and with some other, teams and factions as well. So,
well, imagine like the Wyatt Six, if you had done this a little bit earlier, and the Wyatt Six interacted with Judgment Day and drew out the demon.
Yeah, that could have been interesting.
I mean, again, there's opportunities in this to being the outlier, and they never took advantage of that. And it sucks considering how much they put into the debut. You know?
Yep, very much so. And to your point, outside of Nikki Cross and Uncle Howdy, I don't think they provided enough, background and character, to the remaining, I mean, Eric Rowan kind of had some inbuilt, character based on his, part of the original Wyatt family, but Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis, they were just part of the group, and there was never any explanation. I think this is also the issue with Zoe Stark that I had. She was paired with Shayna Baszler for a while. If you ask me what her character was and what her story was, I have no idea. Like, I really feel like WWE, again, when they promote people, I get it because they resonate with the crowd, but she really, again, nothing against her. It's just, what's her story? Like, why do I care about her? Why should I care about her? There are some call-ups where they don't establish that. They just bring them up because they've done some great stuff in NXT and they just want to magically translate it into the main event or the main roster, and it just doesn't. And that was, I think, the biggest thing with her for a while is, why do I care? Like, what is her motivation? Like, I get she's kind of punk and she likes to fight. Well, that's great. There's a lot of people that like to do that, but what's her motivation? Why is she here? What is she doing? Why is she doing what she's doing? So I think that plagued her. I think Alba Fire kind of falls into the same boat.
Can I just one comment on Zoe Stark?
Sure.
I think that there was room for her. I think the problem was that they tried to tie her to the sinking ship that was Shayna Baszler. Shayna was on the downside of her run. I always, when I saw Zoe Stark in matches, there was at least one moment where she would do something where I'm like, okay, why isn't creative taking notice of this? Because that was an incredible moment. Like, I feel like injuries kind of got her and creative more than anything, because I feel like she had an interesting look, and she had those moments where you saw a promise. That's where I feel like this one is. It kind of does suck.
It does. I mean, I have no qualms with someone who's injured, like at least letting them get back on the roster and try to prove themselves before you cut them loose. I mean, that just to me is, I don't know. There's a unfairness to it all. Like she spent the last year trying to rehab and recover, and now she's ready to get back in the ring, and you're like, now we're going to cut you. It's like,
well, is she ready to get back in the ring? Because
they said she was. Okay. She was to a point where she could get back into
that
contributing, and they cut her, which is to me ridiculous. But Alba Fire, not surprised here. She, ever since her tag partner was let go, she has really just been Chelsea Green's lackey, kind of serving in that Hervis, which, she does a great job with Piper Niven. And I think they both, play their role really well. But at the same time, she just, again, she's another one where it's like, okay, what's her story? Why do I care about her? What's her motivation to even be in the ring fighting and stuff? And she hasn't been. She's just been more of a manager or a second. And so so I kind of understand this one because she just really wasn't playing a role.
Well, the weird thing is, like, it's that jag, like just another guy, or just another gal in this case. The weird thing is here, Piper Niven is not on this list, and she hasn't wrestled, and she might never wrestle again. It's like, it kind of seems like if you're really trying to cut costs, like, why not cut costs with somebody who hasn't wrestled in almost a year and who might not? You know, why are you going to keep paying them? I don't know.
Yep.
Who's Andre Chase?
Andre Chase was really relegated to NXT. There was this group called Chase U. It was meant to be kind of like a obnoxious kind of university bro sort of faction that had some feuds and made some waves in NXT, but it never, was promoted up or graduated up into the main roster. I think it had run its course. And so this was, I think, just kind of a culling of, and I get it. When you're in NXT, if you're there for 3 to 5, it seems like the time frame is you get probably 3 to 5 years to establish yourself and get up to the main roster. If you don't, they cut you, because if you're not ready to make the main roster, when are you going to be? How long are you really thinking this is going to go for? I know it sounds cold and harsh, but at the same time, I understand it from a talent perspective. Like you need to keep the pipeline of talent flowing. And so folks who have been around for a while, and that's going to be true for some of these at the bottom of the list too, which I'll get to. But we talked about Eric Rowan, talked about Dexter Lumis. Dante Chen was another NXT wrestler who, had a bit of a run there, but, just didn't make it up to the main roster. And so I think, and he's another one who had, well over 3 years of time in NXT, and it just didn't, happen for him. So
great name though, man.
Yeah. Good name. Aleister Black and his wife, Zelina Vega. So Zelina, she's played a number of roles. Aleister Black just came back last year. He had a big feud with Damian Priest for a while. Rumors were that he was actually supposed to be tied to the Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes feud until they injected Pat McAfee. Like he was going to be kind of the devil on Randy's shoulder sort of thing. And he was kind of playing that role, as you allude to in your note here, of Karrion Kross and Scarlett, where he's kind of playing to the worst impulses of the people he's running into. I was kind of surprised by this because I thought they were going to do more with him. I thought at some point they were going to give him, some time with Cody. I think he would have made a really good foil for Cody, if only for a month or two, Angle to just have someone Cody could compete against before hitting a, like hitting a major PLE where he would fight, someone of greater prominence. I think there was an element of them needing to build Aleister up into more of a prominent character, and they just didn't do it. I think he could be that, but they just didn't, do a lot with him. But Zelina Vega has been around for a while. She had a run with the LWO. She had a run with the United States Championship. She's, she was part of when they were in Puerto Rico doing a PLE. She got an amazing reaction from that group or from those fans. So she's done a lot. I don't know what was next for the two of them. They were just kind of playing that devil on the shoulder role. And essentially for long-term plans, I guess it was deemed, not important. So thoughts on that?
As soon as they gave them Karrion Kross and Scarlett's role before they got cut, I was like, they're done. They're done. Like that. That was my first thought, because I'm like, this is the exact same thing that Karrion was doing, and it kind of got over, but they released them. So they didn't know what to do with them. To me, the thing to do with a guy like this is make him the cult leader. Like, it should have been the fact that he was working with Damian Priest and somehow got in his head enough that instead of becoming his opponent, he converted him to becoming his lackey. And I know that sounds like, oh, well, Damian Priest, a former world. Who cares? That's the whole thing. Like, you're a cult leader, and you're converting these people to become your lackeys, your underlings, because they're like, yes, this is the person who's going to get me to the promised land, and this and that. And either Randy or Cody would have been an interesting addition to this. Like, but just accumulating people until you realize, like, oh my gosh, Aleister Black has got like a quarter of the roster under his control, and they're all exhibiting their worst tendencies. That would have been the way to go. But again, we're not willing to commit to that. And so they just kind of kept him going, and they had a little moment with him and Danhausen, and then they're, we wish you the best in your future endeavors. And ultimately, like, I get it. But at the same time, if creative had been a little more creative, you could have utilized these folks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, well.
Well, the next three are just kind of scratch your head and try to figure it out. Kairi Sane, who's in the middle of a feud right now with Io Sky, and is, who was paired up with Asuka, who played Asuka's lackey beautifully. One of the best parts of it was Asuka walking off screen, and all of a sudden you're Kairi!
Yeah.
But she was let go, and you're just like, now, in a way I understand it, because Kairi, it's not like she was getting massive reactions from the fans, but at the same time, to take someone who is involved, like, I don't know what they're going to do tomorrow night on Raw to explain this. Like, she was such an integral part of that whole thing, because of the relationship that Kairi, Asuka, and Io had, where Io was relating to her, where, she was kind of, there was some sympathy for Kairi. And, now, I don't know, is it going to be Asuka has banished her to whatever? I don't know how they're going to play it up. And so, and then real quick with Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, I mean, they came in as the Motor City Machine Guns last year. They were or was it last year or 2 years ago? Now that
it was a year. They haven't. It's
about a year,
and even less than a year.
And they had a great feud with Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano.
Didn't they win the belts in like their first match?
They did. Yep. They won the tag belts. Things were looking very promising for them, and it's just a lack of focus on the tag division. Sadly, has left them out. They weren't on our list for not making the WrestleMania cut, but unfortunately, they just weren't, promoted or put into, some positions where they could have really made some waves. And so, unfortunately, they got let go, which I just don't understand. I mean, they were so talented, and they could have done so much to build the tag division on SmackDown and just in WWE in general, that to cut them just feels, foolish. But, sir, thoughts on Kairi Sane and then Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin?
The funny thing is, these are the three most egregious to me.
Yes.
Like, Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, it could have been better. Other folks, yeah. But these are the three. It's like, you can utilize these people right now. This isn't future. This isn't, oh, well, we wish we would have. Like, you can use their asses right now to draw money, and you're just like, nope. Okay, fine. Screw me then. Kairi is one of those deals where I read it today and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't not unsee this. She was the pincushion for the Io Sky, Asuka, Kairi Sane sort of rotation that we've gone through. Like, she's been the person eating all of the pins. And I believe that it sucks, but at the same time, I believe this is also one of those deals where you get to a point where there is a talent that is no longer redeemable on that roster. You've abused them, you've pushed them down, you haven't treated them the way you should have, you haven't given them the creative they should have. They got to go somewhere else. And if nothing else, I almost look at this as like, I'm not trying to take up for WWE or whatever, but if you realize that at a certain point and you're like, you know what, you're going to get calls from A, B, C, and D. Let's just part ways. Like, there's nothing I can do for you. I don't think that we can do anything that's going to rehab your character here. I don't know if that's the case, but whatever. It might end up being a good thing for her, because I'm sure she's getting calls. She's a talented wrestler, but aside from being kind of being the emotionally abused tag partner of Asuka, we don't really know that much about her. You know what I mean? Like she's she can wrestle. Okay, great. There's a lot of people who can wrestle. Like, but why should I care about her? You know, that hasn't truly been explored. Unfortunately, like I feel like this could have been utilized if you put a little more creative weight behind it and you actually committed to it. Yeah, this could have been a thing that paid some dividends, and Kyrie could have been a bigger player. But unfortunately, now we're not going to see that. In terms of like the Motor City Machine Guns, like, yes, when you have no real tag teams, go ahead and cut one of the only ones you have. I really feel like this is one of those ones that gives the people who, you know, have the conspiracy theory that Vince is still in control. It gives us a lot of credence right here, because it's like, well, Vince hates tag team wrestling, so of course we're going to cut them. Holy frack. Like, why are these guys not been prominently involved in all of this? Again, why are the tag belts revolving around the fracking MFTs, Wyatt Six, Usos, New Day? Like, why aren't these guys involved? I don't have a reason, and apparently neither does WWE, because they just gave up. Friggin' hell.
Yep, it boggles the mind. Santos Escobar, not surprising. He was re-signed last fall, and then nothing was done with him. He went to AAA.
Hasn't he been hurt?
He got injured. He's in the middle of dealing with that injury. I think they just released him. I mean, for one, I don't think he was really making any waves when he came back. I think they were trying to build him up specifically in AAA, but there wasn't enough time because he got injured. And I think they just, cut and run, so to speak. That's my read on it. Apollo Crews, unfortunately for him, I really enjoyed him. I mean, he never really clicked. I mean, he had times when he clicked with the fans. He was, very popular in NXT, came up to the main roster, just didn't seem to connect. They tried a few different things with him. They kind of brought him back to kind of his Nigerian warlord character he was doing on the Independents, and that kind of resonated for a little bit, but he just couldn't seem to kind of lock in and connect with the fans. And so he's been, really, kind of relegated NXT, and then maybe some spots on WWE Main Event. Any comments on those two? And because the next few you probably don't have much, context on, and I can kind of fill that in.
Santos, like I did enjoy his work. I thought he was actually a decent, promo, decent worker. With WWE now owning AAA, it is a little surprising to see them cutting any kind of luchador talent. But then again, it also seems like they're trying to almost WWE-ize AAA, where it's like, Los Undertaker is now involved with, AAA, and you have, Chad Gable and Ludwig Kaiser, going and wrestling there, and Dominic holding the mega championship for fracking ever.
And never defending it.
Yeah, weirdly enough. So I guess that isn't all that surprising. It sucks. Apollo Crews, in a weird way, because I'd forgotten this guy was around, and someone had posted this on Reddit or Instagram, and it was like how he had basically survived over the last 10 years with essentially not being on TV for most of them.
Yeah.
In a weird way, it's kind of funny, that there isn't some sort of way that they didn't figure, well, maybe we'll tie him to Obafemi as a lieutenant of Obafemi, and almost like this, the ruler will redeem you, my brother. We're from the same place, and this and that and the other. I am looking for loyal soldiers, that sort of thing. That could have been a kind of a cool thing. And Oba of assembling essentially an army to be like, the ruler isn't just a gimmick. I'm here to take over WWE. I'm not playing. And right. I've brought an army with me. That could have been kind of cool. But at the same time, I get it. At a certain point, it becomes numbers on a spreadsheet. And if you haven't seen Apollo Crews on TV for, like I have for how long? Yeah. It feels like a 10% missed opportunity.
All right. So these next couple, Tyra May Steele, this one blows my mind because she was the season 1 winner of LFG. LFG is a show on A&E where
What season are we in?
Huh?
Are we in? Are we even
season
in
3?
Season 2?
Season 3 is about actually season 3 is starting tonight. I can't watch it because I don't have A&E anymore. But the 2 seasons I watched of it, she is a former Olympian. I don't think she deserved it. She was I think she was Undertaker's pick to win it. And, I have not seen her on NXT at all. So I don't know what happened. Like, she was supposed to show major promise. They have had a couple of other, the names don't come to mind, but let me see. Let me look at the LFG. 1 second. So those who have appeared on NXT, where is he? Jasper Troy, who was a student of Booker T's, he has made several appearances and has wrestled for the NXT Championship. He's got a lot of promise. And then, let's see, where did he go?
I'm going to turn off my fan.
Shiloh Hill won season 2, I believe. Yes. And has been on as well. Dana Sikelski won season 2. She has not, as far as I know, she has not been on NXT. I'm trying to see who won. Yeah, Jasper Troy and Tyra May Steele won season 1. And then, yeah, Dana Sikelski and Shiloh Hill won season 2. So, which is kind of crazy when you think about like the winner of this like talent program that's meant to promote up to NXT. And then she just, I don't know why she didn't compete much or why she was let go, but she was. Serena Linton, she's another LFG talent who went through 2 seasons, didn't win either season, but she showed remarkable like progress from season 1 to season 2. Like, she really kind of changed her whole attitude, her tone, like the way she performed in the ring. Like, she was really kind of growing. Thought that she would be someone that they would, bring along. Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe, I believe both, they were in NXT. I think they were a tag team. And again, I think it's one of those cases they've had a couple of years in that, group. And I think maybe it was just time to cut bait with them. Trill London, Chris Island, they are both from LFG as well. Chris Island kind of surprised me because he was part of seasons 1 and 2. He was, again, just seemed to have a great, I thought had a pretty good sense for the business and what he was doing in the ring. Very athletic, but just, wasn't the one thing he was lacking though, I think was charisma. I think he just didn't translate very well. He was very kind of bland at times. Trill London, the only knock I had on him when I watched he came in LFG season 2 was he literally was just a carbon copy of Jeff Hardy. Like, and he said like Jeff Hardy was like his favorite superstar, and he would come down to the ring and do a lot of aerial crap, but it was very reminiscent of Jeff Hardy, very reminiscent. So probably the knock on him is just not developing his own persona, his own character.
Yeah.
Malik Blade and Luca Crucifino are both NXT talent who, again, I think had just been around for a couple of years and were just not, elevating themselves up to the main roster. So some of these were not a surprise, but like you said, I think probably the biggest surprises in this list were Kairi Sane, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, and the Wyatt Six. I think out of this list were the ones that really, and maybe for those who watched LFG, Tyra May Steele, Serena Linton were probably out of that group the 2 biggest surprises.
The Wyatt Six, I still say, is not that much of a surprise because they really didn't have much beyond the MFTs with a lantern and the tag belts.
Yes, but if you go back to the beginning of the group, Bo Dallas was cutting some pretty damn good promos.
No doubt, but I'm saying like if that's where you wind up, it's not surprising it like after a year, if that's where you're winding up, where you're feuding over, Bray Wyatt's lantern, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Kyrie was like prominently featured in backstage segments with Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Asuka a week ago. You know, and the Motor City Machine Guns, again, they've been like segued into like whatever what is it, main event, like the C show, I guess you would call it, for WWE at this point. They'd been exiled there, but it's still like you need tag teams, and you cut a tag team, like a cohesive tag team.
Yep.
Like a brand tag team. That's what makes it so surprising for me. And I wonder with like NXT, I'm curious because you seem to know a little bit more about the LFG and NXT folks than I do. Do you feel like there's almost like this thing where, like if you think about minor league baseball, like you're going to trade off your next 3 shortstop, prospects because you've got this guy locked in for the next 8 years on your MLB team. Like, okay, I've got so and so locked in. I've got them under contract for 6 years. They are the corner of, one of the cornerstones of our franchise. I can afford to trade away this guy and this guy and this guy, even though they say like, oh well, they're an A- prospect. Okay, fine, but I've got this guy, and I've got him under contract. I'm paying him $200 million years over the next 6 years. This guy here, I can afford to trade him off to get this. Like, how many of these guys also and ladies fit a mold where they're like, okay, well, we've got enough high flyers, we've got enough giants, we've got enough this guy, that guy. How many of those are like looking forward and going, this person doesn't have a spot, and there's not enough upside. You know what I mean? Like, do you feel like there's any of that? Like there's positions?
I do. I think my read on this is, at the end of the day, are they connecting with the crowd and are they making an impact? And if they're not doing either of those things to an extent that will generate business, generate merchandise sales, that sort of thing, then I think, and again, it's cold and harsh to say it, but I think they cut bait with them, because it's like, look, this is a business about, presence, about aura, about, impact and connection with the crowd. And if you're not doing any of those things, if the crowd is just kind of like ho hum, then what are we doing? And again, with the Wyatt Six, I put some of that on creative. I think they were trying to run with what they were given. Mm-hmm. I think creative could have done a lot more interesting things with them. Yes. Maybe they got saddled down by the fact they had to be a group versus having individuals, get into, like, because when you think about it, they never really had an individual, angle with any of them. Like, it was always a group setting. It was the tag belts. It was.
Did they feud with anyone except the MFTs?
I thought they did something with American Alpha for a period of time.
Well, yeah, because the Chad Gable thing.
Chad Gable.
Actually, we talked about this in the pre-production. Like, Chad Gable should get a lot of credit for the fact that he trained Alpha Academy so well that they have managed to avoid being part of this extinction level event for the past couple years.
I have to imagine Otis and Tozawa were sweating bullets on Friday. So yeah, and the War Raiders as well, because the War Raiders are another group that, quite honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they get cut at this point. They haven't been on TV in a while, and their gimmick has run its course. Like the crowd does not pop for them. The crowd is, I hate to say it this way, the crowd just doesn't care.
Well, because they see like the lack of interest from creative. Like, people are not ignorant.
Well, I don't know if and again, we can't get in deep into this because we're getting late, but
I know, but I'm just saying,
the point here is, it comes down to creative, because I don't think they're trying to build a tag division. I think, when you look at Raw, there's not a lot of tag teams. So the War Raiders are kind of left holding the bag because they only have so many teams they can face. And they faced the New Day, they faced Alpha Academy. Like, who else is there at this point? You know what I mean? Like, they're victims of the fact that they're not investing in the division. And to your point, when you cut like an Alex Shelley and a Chris Sabin, like, why wouldn't you not transition them to Monday Night Raw and see if they can, gin up some interest in the division by fighting, Alpha Academy or, the War Raiders or something like that. But the War Raiders also have a weird gimmick too. I mean, they're just kind of like what's their deal? Like, okay, great. They scream war and then they go in there and they're big guys and they just kind of like, smash people around. It's like, there's something lacking there. You know what I mean?
Demolition.
It did, but Demolition was packaged the right way. The War Raiders, I feel, are not. There's something missing in the package to make them
yanked
feel
around because they were the Viking Raiders,
right? Because Vince has a fetish for Norse lore or something like that.
Well, no, I think that's more. Oh my gosh, friggin' Michael Cole, who had the thing for the Valhalla with the antlers, and he would
right.
Anyways,
yes.
So if I had to put you on the spot, sir, if you had one, like, let's say the hand is still on the chess piece, and you had one like take back. Okay, no, actually, we didn't mean that. You're still under contract. One, who would it be?
One take back,
and this could be either as a group or an individual. Let's just go with that.
I'm going to give you two because I'm kind of tied. I'll give you number one would be Aleister Black and Selena Vega as a pair.
Okay.
And the other would be Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Those would be the only two that I would put Aleister Black first because I think if they were to invest in him the right way, he could be an upper mid-card talent who could have some really good feuds, with some of the baby faces either on SmackDown or Raw. So I feel like it's just a waste of WWE, not investing in someone who I think has a really interesting sort of creative angle to them. And then as we talked about, I think Shelley and Sabin, if they could just invest in tag team wrestling and try to build a division where these guys are kind of the leaders, I think it would be, instead of treating the tag belts as just a trophy to be handed off from faction to faction, I think, you would see the product improve substantially.
I agree. I would go with Motor City Machine Guns.
Okay.
Turn them heel and just let them just.
That's true. They never had a heel run, and they actually are. Both Shelley and Sabin have been very good as heels. So,
so I think that is the one that immediate impact. Like you put them on Monday Night Raw tomorrow, you improve the product immediately. So, unfortunately, that's not going to happen.
Yep.
Because they've taken their hands off of the chess piece and put it on some other piece. But
I know part of the reason they're doing this is because they're bringing up talent to the main roster from NXT. And then, of course, I think they're trying to bring in talent into NXT to try to get them going as the next big superstars. They're going to start investing time and energy into a new crop of talent. And it's just unfortunate, I mean, some folks, it's just like they, like NXT is good, but I also feel like in some ways it can be a bad thing because some of the talent can get very comfortable being there. And again, I'm not trying to assume, and I'm speculating. I don't want to cast, this as why, some of the long-term NXT talent was let go. But I do think there's that danger of, hey, I'm in this place, I'm learning, they're putting me on the show. At some point, something's going to happen for me, and maybe they get comfortable with that. When you're someone who gets plugged into TV spots a lot, you just kind of think over time, well, something's going to happen for me eventually, not realizing that. I think the things that really matter are the package, the connection with the fans, the impact. Like, are you someone that the fans are excited to see, or just kind of like, and so, my not that I'm one to give advice, but I just, because I'm someone who's never set foot in a ring and probably has no business dispensing advice, but given my understanding of it, it just seems like, if all the talent were constantly trying to, almost drive Shawn Michaels nuts with ideas of, I think my character needs this, I think my character needs that, I don't know if they're doing that or not. Maybe they are, and just things are just not working out, but it is interesting to see how certain characters, certain superstars their status doesn't seem to change. And to me, I think some of that has to fall on the talent themselves. Some of it has to fall on creative, because at that level, they're trying to develop who they are. And if anything, I think my understanding, at least of NXT, is it probably is the most malleable area that they can operate in, because they're trying to figure that character out. They're trying to figure out, who am I? What am I? What am I going to look like? And if stuff isn't if they're sensing things aren't resonating with fans, I think they have space and ability to try to change some of that. But again, I'm not there. I don't know. I'm really not, the right person to make those sorts of statements, I suppose. So I think that's just from where I'm sitting 100,000 feet up in the air. So
I think so. I remember in Bob Ryan's memoir, he talked about how, I don't know if that's coming through the mic, but Amtrak is very animated tonight in their horn blowing. Bob Ryan in his memoir had described, because infamously, Bob Ryan, even though he was kind of the beat reporter for the Celtics, was a diehard baseball fan and had kept a scorebook or scorecard for every baseball game that he had been at, to the point where he had like these bound volumes of like scoring that he had been at. So kept the box score, and had said like he had seen minor league players do things that he just were beyond belief. Like they would have stretches that were otherworldly, but that the reason why these people didn't translate is because they could only do that for a short period of time. And the people who made to the major leagues were the ones who could replicate that success. They learned how to be able to be consistent day in, day out over an entire season. Whereas some people could have these flashes of brilliance, like 5 games in a row. It's like, oh my gosh, they're hitting this, they're doing that, but then they disappear. I wonder how much of that is in NXT. Like, oh my gosh, they can have this moment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, well, you got to draw over time. You got to, like, I don't see, like, they're not, like you say, they're not coming to Shawn Michaels with ideas. Like, they managed to hit on one thing, but it's like, okay, but yeah, I never see you otherwise.
But I got to throw the disclaimer out. I don't know. I am totally speculating. These people could be trying their hearts out, and just stuff isn't connecting for some reason. So.
Totally. But there is that. And the second thing being, sometimes like that, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Right.
And for those of you who want to get biblical, there is that parable of like the woman who comes to the judge and will not leave him alone. Give me justice over this person. Give me justice. And even though that person in the parables, it's even detailed, they do not fear God. They're like, I'll give you what you want. Just leave me the frig alone. Like Are
you going to quote Pulp Fiction? Because that seems to be the thing these days.
No, because I actually know what Ezekiel says. I've read it a couple times.
Well, good on you.
But just that idea of like, you get to a point where it's like, if you keep coming with those things, people eventually will be like, okay, fine, let me give this to you because you're just annoying the shit out of me. And sometimes that can be enough to turn people around on you, because they're like, okay, well, they've annoyed me, but now I see this passion. And that can be the thing that propels you to that next level.
Yep.
And like you say, we don't know who these people are and what they're saying and what, what the conversation around the water cooler is. But I mean, odds are that some of them are just like, I'm comfy. And you can't be comfy in this business. You can't. I mean, we've talked about how, people miss out on stuff because of an injury or this and that and the other. It's like, you ain't got room to be comfy. Shit happens in this industry. And if you don't, try and make shit happen for yourself, shit's going to happen to you.
Amen and amen.
All right. Are we good to close the book on this one, sir?
Please.
All right.
I need to get to bed.
I know, me too. And what have you got for and another thing, a suggestion for our viewers and our listeners?
Very quickly, last week at Whiskey Fest, I picked up a new brand that I had not tried before, Redwood Empire. The name of it was called... Can
you show us show us the label, because it's a killer label.
Excuse me while I whip this out. But
now you're not expecting me to comment on that. Okay.
Of course not. No. Here it is. It is called the Screaming Titan. It is a wheated bourbon. It is, 61% corn, 30% wheat, 5% rye, and 4% malt. Toasted and, what does it say? Char 3.
Yeah.
96 proof. But it is a delight. I had some of this last night as I was playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, and it is quite good. So I would highly recommend, if you've not tried Redwood Empire. I actually, over on Friday when I was out to dinner with my wife, I had I tried their Pipe Dream 101, which was a straight bourbon whiskey, and it was quite good. I think a solid brand, and I would highly recommend Redwood Empire whiskey if you are looking to try something from the great state of California.
Extend your portfolio, if you will.
Indeed. How about you, sir? What is your and another thing?
This is a bit depressing, but at the same time, it's also a good warning.
That's a great start. This is depressing. I'm just letting you all know.
Y'all remember that submarine that had all the rich people who went down to the Titanic and imploded? I watched the documentary on that. It's called Implosion, the Titanic Sub Disaster. It's streaming on Disney+. It is one of those things that you look at and you're like, how much more on the friggin' nose can you be? Like, you're a bunch of rich folks who think that nothing can go wrong, and you're charging for it, and you name it the Titan to go to the Titanic and think everything's going to be all right. Oh my gosh. It's one of those deals where I was watching this, and even my wife, who is not into like documentaries nearly as much as I am, and is in fact kind of like, I don't want to hear bad things. She would catch a bit of this and catch like 5 minutes, like, this is stupid. I'm like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And here's all the ways that their journey parallels that of the people who built the Titanic and said it was unsinkable. And history repeats itself. Wow. Where have we heard that before? But it is an interesting watch, just simply because of the sheer hubris of the people involved. So give that a watch. I think it's only like an hour and a half, so it's not like it's gonna take that much out, and it's interesting footage in that you have several people coming alongside who are like, it sounded kind of interesting, and then they get involved and they're like, oh my gosh, this is stupid. Just watching that kind of transformation is interesting, if nothing else.
Very nice.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show for this Free Range Idiocy Friday. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. We are very happy that this episode was definitely at least about half of what our previous episode was. So you're welcome. You can find us at freerangeidiocy.com and subscribe there through the Podbean app. Find all of our episodes downloaded one at a time, if not en masse, if you will. And you can also find us on the podcast purveyor of your choice, like Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, and or Amazon, or a whole bunch of others that are out there. I'm sure. Just search for Free Range Idiocy. I'm sure you'll find us. If you'd like to find full video episodes, you got to head over on to our YouTube channel. Smelt, felt, dealt. YouTube.com/@freerangeidiocy. If you have the yen to happen to join our socials, we are on the Facebook and the Instagram as well, at Free Range Idiocy on those as well. You got a question? You got a thought? You got an idea for a show? Send those to Tim at freerangeidiocy.com, and he'll be back in touch with you forthwith, if not sooner. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for me, that is Uncle Todd, to turn this over to him. That is the man they call Tim, the least idiotic member of this two-man idiotic team. Not before I ask him the second most important question in all, and when I say all, I mean all of human history. The first, of course, being what is hip. The second being, what in the high holy hell did we learn this episode, sir?
Oh, we've learned a lot.
Oh boy, that was a very Godfather sort of thing there. Like,
oh, you didn't know?
Oh, never mind. It was wrote down.
That's what I was going for.
I got.
We have learned that the stats for WrestleMania 42 are not kind to those of us, or for those who paid to go see it, because the total match time being the lowest percentage ever for WrestleMania history.
Lots of time for popcorn and hot dogs.
Yes, lots of time for a potty break, but not a whole lot of time for matches. Plenty of time for entrances, apparently. So, and we here at Free Range Idiocy, running our own stats. I think the breakdown is, Uncle Todd 60% speaking time. Man, they called him 40%. So.
That actually feels a little low for me.
I was going to go 75-25, but that felt wrong. So
let's meet in the middle at 70-30.
Let's try to improve that. I think is the other part.
I feel bad about it every time, and you won't interrupt me. You just let me go, and
because that is the proper thing to do, is to sit and listen and then speak once there's a break. But oxygen is not in your recipe for living, apparently, because you talk nonstop.
Well, I've got gills.
Well, you do.
You didn't notice?
I've noticed it. We've also learned that Uncle Todd and Man They Call Tim are on two different ends of the spectrum when it comes to how WrestleMania should improve, given the number of talent that were cut from the event. Uncle Todd prefers a slightly more condensed version of the event, while the Man They Call Tim is looking to extend it out even further. And he is correct, as always. We've also learned that WWE Black Friday, this was cleaning house of the highest order, and some of it understandable, some of it just you scratch your head like, what in God's name are they thinking?
I still say having Gunther just come to the ring on Monday Night Raw or even SmackDown and just be like, I have a list.
Oh my God.
And just one after another.
No, because he's stealing Chris Jericho's gimmick if he does the list. So,
who gives a crap?
Well,
then Chris Jericho can come on down as well.
Well, yeah, he probably would have been let go too. But anyways,
would you be upset about that?
I would not. I would not. We both agree, though, that Io Sky was done dirty, and as is Tiffany Stratton. Both of them having been major parts of last year's event, not being on this year's event was just wrong. Bernie, can you give us one, please? Thank you very much. Indeed, Sheiky. To let go a cornerstone of tag team wrestling in Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, another travesty of justice that we both agree on. Also, the Wyatt Six, not surprised, but unfortunate given the fact that creative could have done more with them. But we look forward to seeing where they all kind of land and how they will continue their careers, because, hey, you never know. Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, many have been let go and have pursued. Matt Cardona have created personas and characters themselves on the indies and have found their way back to WWE. And so, for all who are let go, we here at Free Range Idiocy wish them the best in their future endeavors and hope one day to see them again in some impactful capacity. Like let's think positive here, that they will find a way to connect with the crowd, to bring value and impact to this wonderful world of professional wrestling in a way that will draw us to the ring, to the events, to pay our hard-earned cash, and to watch them compete for the greatest prize of them all. With all that being said, sorry, what was that?
Jabroni!
Oh, jeez.
Jabroni!
I was like, what the hell was that? Was that Kevin Flynn?
So lost in your own thoughts.
I thought I was being prolific there. I thought I was being
Lord. What's a cubit?
Articulate, and all of a sudden, I thought Kevin Flynn was going. Yeah. Thank you very much. All right. With all that being said, let's close the shop here. As we like to end things on the range. Be safe. Be healthy. Be kind. Be good to one another. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. The range is closed for now. See ya.
Like a Mussolini.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
I beg your pardon, what did you say?
Damn!
You're such a disappointing pair. I prayed so hard for you. Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
So say we all. So say we all.
We did it.
And where does this leave us?
I got to tell you, listening to Uncle Corny and Brian Last, when he talks about the entrances and how, Punk walks to the ring to the, the AFI song, and Corny's like, and then there's silence, and the crowd is quiet. You can hear the crowd kind of rumbling, and then all of a sudden, like Mussolini. I mean, I love how he sings that the same. He does it the same way every single time, and it is funny then as it is now.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Oh, good God, he's so good. Thank you very much. Oh.
Now get the hell out of here!